Welcome to the Audible version of our book, Mental Mastery and Maximum Performance for Professional Athletes. I'm David Essel. I am the author of this book, and I am also the one doing this Audible recording. Welcome aboard, copyright 2023. This book is meant to take your career and your life to the very next level, and I'm so proud to be a part of this program and the process of helping individuals maximize their potential in life. I want to begin the book with a tribute to NBA superstar Moses Malone. You know, it's a book about athletes. There's so many great stories I'm going to share, and this one is a personal one. Let's get going. When I was about 16 years of age, I had the most incredible opportunity to attend Dave Bing's All-Star Camp in Pocono Pines, Pennsylvania. I had been over the years to a number of different basketball camps, but this was the first time that I went to a major basketball camp with incredible talent, amazing coaching staff, and an opportunity to level up my game to enable myself to go to the highest level in this sport possible. I was absolutely out of my mind nervous, insecure, and scared. This was a long way from home. I was going to be gone for 7 to 10 days, and I had no idea about the level of talent that I was going to be playing against, other than the fact that they were all going to be better than me. And for a good part of the camp, it was true. The players that were there that were my age, some of them were so advanced, but I took that as an opportunity to grow and pushed myself as hard as I could every day to match their level of excellence. Then one day in camp, a rumor started going around that this young kid, who was about 6'9", 17 years of age, would be brought to the camp by Dave Bing personally. And if I remember correctly, Dave had flown him from his home in Virginia to Pennsylvania, where he was picked up by a limousine and driven to the camp in the middle of the woods. I believe it was about noon one day when a limousine pulled up, and out of the back stands this lanky, skinny 17-year-old kid named Moses Malone, who I had never heard of. And why would I? He was only 17. He lived in a completely different area of the country, but I, like all the other campers, were super excited to see what all this commotion was about. As he got out of the limousine, I noticed that he had a safety pin holding his shorts together, an old, if I remember correctly, torn white t shirt, and barely enough laces to keep his worn out basketball shoes on his feet. I kept thinking, who is this? And could be that talented to be brought to this camp in the manner that he was? All of us kids were standing around staring at this other kid. He was only a year older, but he was so tall we couldn't wait for him to get on the court. Rumors were running rampant that this kid was going to be the next big star in the ABA and didn't even need to go to college as most players back in those days did. It was an extremely rare to have someone go directly from high school to the pros, which added even more intrigue to the fact that Dave Bing had brought him to the camp. And then it happened. Over the loudspeaker, a message was sent that Dave Bing was challenging teenager Moses Malone to a one-on-one game early that evening. We went out of our minds. How could a 17-year-old kid have any chance against an NBA All-Star like Dave Bing? We were about to be shocked out of our minds. By the time the game rolled around, Moses strolling out in new clothing, new shoes, and looked like a completely different person. He started off the match against Dave Bing with this ferocious approach that none of us expected to see. He was not intimidated at all. What? How could a 17-year-old kid with broken down shoes and shorts falling off his body have the confidence to go after a former all pro basketball player as if he belonged on the court? Well, guess what? He did belong on the court. While Dave Bing ended up winning the game, it was not without an amazingly fierce battle. While we saw that Moses Malone may have been a child by age, he was a man by talent. It was one of the most exciting times in my life in basketball, and I look back at it now telling the story with emotion, and sometimes, yes, even with tears rolling down my face. This extremely poor child that came from absolutely nothing was going to become one of the most powerful and productive, successful centers the NBA has ever seen. I was so grateful to be able to see this superstar in advance, this young man who had been born to become an NBA All Star. Off the court, he was extremely shy at that age and would only speak when spoken to. He had a gentle, warm smile, but felt a little uncomfortable being around so many people looking up to him the way we all did. During that experience, as I reflect back now, Moses Malone was exactly 1 year older than me at that basketball camp. One of us would go on to greatness in basketball. Yes, you're right, it wasn't me. I was blessed with the opportunity to meet someone who'd become one of the greatest players of all time in the NBA. He was the most valuable player 2 times in the NBA, won an NBA championship with the Philadelphia 76ers, and ended up being one of those few individuals that went directly from high school into NBA play and was a star for all 19 seasons he played. Unfortunately, he died in 2015 in his sleep of a heart attack. And he is forever missed and always talked about when individuals speak about who are the greatest big men of all time in the NBA. A 6'10" forward turn center. He was a fierce offensive rebounder, an amazingly accurate shooter, and unlike so many other big men, had a soft touch at the free throw line. Moses Malone, I honor and respect your work ethic that took you from a difficult childhood to become an affluent, professional, and extremely talented star in the National Basketball Association. I joyfully tell your story to remind myself of the day I met you, and as importantly, or maybe more importantly, as others read your story in this book, regardless of the current situation that they are in, regardless of the poverty they may be facing, they have a role model in you. They have hope because of you. And I feel like one of the most blessed individuals in the world right now, knowing that I met you at the age I did and knowing that I became one of your greatest fans since we were so close in age as you continue to rock the world as a professional basketball star for 19 years. I know you're looking down at us as you rest in peace, sending your gorgeous energy to every young boy or young girl whose life may have started out in a very tough way, but because of their belief in themselves and the role model that you became, maybe one of them will follow in your footsteps. I personally know this will happen. With love to you, Moses, David. Now, the dedication of this book. To my father, steady Eddie Essel, who really was an incredible role model my entire life. In the world of athletics, even though he was not specifically an athletic person, he encouraged me to follow my dreams in every sport I pursued. The one that grabbed my attention the most, of course, was basketball. And my father would stay late at work every game that I played at Syracuse University, and at 7:30 p.m. exactly, he would arrive in the arena with his egg salad sandwich, which would be his dinner for the evening. Over the years leading up to my playing days at Syracuse University, he was at every elementary and every high school basketball game, rearranging his schedule the best he could, even if it meant he came in at the fourth quarter. My dad was there at every game. But the ones that remind me the most of his dedication to my sport of choice were the days and evenings I would look up at the stands in Manley Fieldhouse, the old Syracuse University basketball stadium, and see my dad sitting all by himself with his egg salad sandwich, cheering me on. To my father, the dad I still love, to this very day, who surrounds me with his loving spirit of energy. This book is for you. Love, David. Chapter 1. Why every professional athlete and elite college athlete should be reading this book right now. Since the pandemic, the world and athletes have been and seen a massive increase in mental health issues. Some may blame this on the pandemic itself, others on the racial division in our country, others on the political insanity. And we would be correct with every one of those ideas just stated. But the fact remains the same. We are struggling now as a country and in the world of athletics more with mental health issues than I have ever seen in my 43 years of practice. Depression, addiction, anxiety, PTSD, procrastination, perfectionism, irritability, anger. The list of the increase in mental health challenges is endless. And remember, athletes are human too. Just because they are heralded as amazing human beings for their athletic and intellectual skills, they also go through immense pressure to improve their game. Every year, the fans, owners, management, and sponsors have very little time or patience for individuals whose performances drop below their best due to mental health challenges. And organizations that are involved in the world of athletics and professional sports, like the American College of Sports Medicine, recently came out with statistics backing the need for extreme help for athletes in the world of mental health and self care. According to the American College of Sports Medicine, quote, 35% of elite athletes struggle with eating disorders, burnout, depression, and or anxiety, with one of the fastest rising issues, ADHD, which creates problems with focusing and sustained attention. In our private practice of 43 years, we see this percentage extremely low, but that's just due to underreporting by athletes themselves. Many athletes, even in anonymous surveys, will not tell the truth just in case somehow their answers could get back to their team, league, or ownership. We believe that over 60% of elite athletes are struggling with the above, some type of mental challenge or physical challenge, addiction, and as mentioned above, burnout, depression, PTSD, eating disorders, and more. The real world of elite athletic participants is very different than what the general population thinks of what it's like to be an elite athlete. Those of us who are not elite athletes many times have very little patience when our star or our teams don't perform at the highest level possible, disregarding the fact that these are human beings that struggle with family issues, death in their families, financial challenges, and everything else that goes along with being a human being. These statistics continue to rise on an annual basis, which is one of the reasons I love my work so deeply. There are some star athletes that have no problem at all saying that they get help from the world of sports psychology. Just maybe someone like a Michael Jordan or a Tom Brady or a Russell Wilson. And then there are other elite athletes that would never admit to getting help, either because of their own embarrassment or shame or guilt, or as I mentioned earlier, their fear that someone may find out about it and hold it against them. As a sports psychology coach, there are key certain areas that we focus on with all of our athletes, and some of these areas we spend a lot of time with certain athletes, and others there may be only one or two areas they need general help with, assistance and accountability in order to maximize their mental and physical performance. These categories will include, but not be limited to, the following. Number one, extreme, relentless confidence. Number two, planning, structure, and organization for day to day living, as well as preparation for the season. And really importantly, time management skills. Number three, high motivation through all of life's challenges. Number four, accountability to help change our mental health, increase our talents, and more. Number five, commitment to constant improvement on and off the court. Number six, training our mind to look at challenges as opportunities to grow. Number seven, determination at such a strong level that we will walk through hell to accomplish our goals. And number eight, leading a joyful, peaceful life. Now, this is something that so many athletes do request help with because they've been so singularly minded in order to reach the level of exceptional performance that they have. They still need joy. They still need happiness. They still need avenues to create inner peace, just like you and me. Along with the above topics, there's so much more that we do to help our athletes, their families, and more on a daily basis. And the great news with all of this, more and more elite professional athletes are speaking out about the need for better mental health care. In the recent July 2023 issue of the magazine Psychology Today, there was an incredible interview with American heavyweight boxer Deontay Wilder. In the article, he was so forthcoming about the challenges that he and other boxers faced that need to be discussed on a regular basis. Quote, a lot of fighters don't want to reveal what's going on with them. They try to be tough, to keep that persona up. But PTSD is very common among fighters. Mental illness is a big thing in boxing. I think a lot of fighters should get checked out. End quote. When asked how he supports other boxers, his response was incredibly beautiful. Quote, "We need each other and we need to show love. It can be words of affirmation or confirmation. One thing is just saying, man, I love you. How are you doing today? We need that feeling that someone loves me, somebody cares for me, somebody's thinking about me. I tell fighters I love them or give them my ears because they want to release something. That four-letter word is a powerful word, love." End quote. Then he goes on to talk about his daily practice of meditation, something I am a huge fan of. At first, many athletes are against meditation only because it looks to them like we're just sitting there and accomplishing nothing in general. But nothing could be further from the truth. We teach meditation in a very easy to follow format and start our athletes with maybe only 2 minutes a day, slowly working up to 20 minutes a day, and the benefits are profound for everyone. Deontay goes on to say, quote, "Meditation gives me clarity and confirmation. It humbles me. I like to use meditation with visualization." End quote. And then he mentions the personal benefits he receives from meditation, like it allows him to zone the huge audience at his fights completely out. He said even during a fight, his daily practice of meditation gives him peace of mind. An incredible comment. Quote, "A lot of things have lined up for me due to the exercise I put in on my mind, the exercise of my brain." End quote. Isn't that the most powerful statement you could ever hear from a brutal boxer? And it's one of the reasons I wrote this book. I want to get the word out that many athletes are already utilizing all of these techniques on a daily basis that we have been teaching for 43 years in order to improve their mental health, their approach to their specific sport. And we need coaches, trainers, and elite athletes to be questioning themselves right now. Is there more that I can do for myself? Is there more I can do for my teammates regarding mental health and healing? As a coach, as a trainer, are there more tools that we can add to our team practices, mental health tools, in order to expand our awareness of our own strengths and weaknesses and to perform at a higher level? That meditation by itself has played such a huge role in Deontay's ability to be grounded, compassionate, calm during the most challenging times of his life. Simply beautiful. And then listen to the way he ends the article, talking about everything he's learned through the use of his mental training techniques. Quote, "Some people think having all this money is the prototype for happiness, but they are mistaken. I realize I don't need to have all these materialistic things. All I need to be happy is simplicity, to be able to sleep, to eat, to take care of my family." End quote. Just that statement alone is a statement of someone that has really worked on their attitude, their mental health, and proactive approach to not only their sport, but to living life at the highest level as well. Amazing. So much respect for that gentleman. Now, let's take a look at statistics from the American Psychological Association that came from a survey they did about 9 months ago. My professional athletes have to be aware of these statistics as well, so they can be on the lookout if their own mental health is beginning to slip. Number one, 79% of respondents to the survey said they did not have the emotional coping skills to deal with what's going on in this world with the pandemic and all the other challenges that we've been facing over the last 4 years, especially. For my professional athletes, being, quote, in the bubble, end quote, just a few years ago produced immense mental health challenges for so many athletes that you will never read about in the news. Number two, also from this study, 80% of marriages and relationships said that they are in the worst shape ever right now due to the challenges being faced in this world. As a professional athlete, this can easily be translated to their relationships too, especially due to the fact that during the season they may be gone from 60 to 70% of their time. This puts immense pressure on relationships to stay grounded, healthy, and joyful when one of the partners is gone that much. And if children are involved, well, this adds even more pressure to the family situation, leading to challenges that affect both the athletes and their loved ones. We work with families as well as athletes. And we must thank God for Simone Biles. This Olympic gold medalist shocked the world and at the same time opened the minds of millions as she temporarily dropped out of the Olympics due to mental health challenges. On one of the first nights of these Olympic Games when she did not perform, Olympic medalist swimmer Michael Phelps, who was a commentator at that Olympics, shared that he too had struggled deeply with mental health issues. He realized that his performance at each Olympic game was becoming more profound, and he felt that every person in the USA was looking at him to once again respond with gold medal after gold medal after gold medal. He admitted that the pressure was so great that he had made errors in his own personal life in trying to deal with the pressure of being an athlete expected to win every time you went into a meet. And it is because of people like Simone and Michael that now we can slowly begin to openly talk about the pressures athletes are facing and the remedies for those pressures. Many fans have very little patience when they think about their favorite athletes earning millions upon millions of dollars every year and not realizing, as I stated above, that they're simply humans with emotional, mental, and physical challenges just like everybody else. This is one of the main reasons I'm writing this book, to open the doorway for more real and frank communication regarding mental health and allowing athletes to use my services as a sports psychology coach and this book as a way to get closer and take a closer look at what creates mental health challenges, and then most importantly, what we can do to solve them. My work of 43 years and this book are both intended to help the professional athlete continue to climb the ladder of success while keeping their sanity and relationships in place. Not an easy task to perform, but one I'm willing to tell you that is possible for anyone who truly wants to heal and maximize their athletic performance at the same time. And it was during the year of the bubble that affected so many sports that we saw incredible athletes losing their edge, losing their fire and determination when they were forced to play a full season of their sport with no fans in the stands. Athletes, many of them that I know and work with, rely on either the opposing fans hassling them to fire them up or their hometown fans getting behind them and encouraging them during every event they are in. But the pandemic changed all of that. And athletes who are used to playing in front of 18,000 or 100,000 fans found themselves playing in front of zero. Unless you're a professional athlete, you may not know how debilitating this can be for their internal and external motivation. After Simone and Michael made their public comments, athletes slowly started to open up and talk about their challenges that up until then would have been impossible to bring to the surface. Not too long ago, the NBA got involved with running public service announcements for our mental health awareness, starring several of the NBA's most notable names like DeMar DeRozan and Kevin Love, which eventually led to the NBA creating, quote, NBA Mind Health, end quote. NBA Mind Health is an incredible website with information that is meant to help the public, but also professional athletes as well. While the tide is slowly turning, this is not the time to think that we've got it made in the world of professional athletes and mental health, or even high level collegiate athletes and mental health. We are just beginning, just starting. For decades upon decades, and it is well known fact that athletes have, quote, no right, end quote, to talk about depression, addictions, anxiety, family issues, relationship issues with their loved one or children. It was just something you were taught or told to deal with on your own, but don't make it public. It's slowly changing. Let me share a fairly long list of athletes that have come forward and willing to discuss their own mental health challenges or how they've overcome challenges from a variety of different experiences. Number one, Jeff Green, the current NBA champion, is a member of the Denver Nuggets, had open heart surgery in 2012 and was never expected to return to the basketball courts, overcoming the fear of the unknown. Will I ever return and play at level as high as I have in the past? Well, never say never, right, Jeff? Number two, both Klay Thompson, Golden State Warriors, and Jamal Murray, Denver Nugget NBA champ as well, went through incredible mental and physical pain as they both had major surgery on their legs. Klay sat out for almost 2 years, and Jamal Murray over a year. And they both have publicly stated and expressed how difficult it was, not just physically, but mentally, to be away from the game they love so much, and the uncertainty that comes with wondering if they would ever perform at their highest levels again. Two immense role models for all of us to follow. Number three, Max Crosby with the Las Vegas Raiders of the NFL took time off to go to a rehabilitation center for his addiction to alcohol and speaks about it openly as a leader in the NFL, hoping that other athletes challenged by addiction will follow the same route that he took. Number four, Alonzo Mourning of the Miami Heat, a number of years ago, had a kidney transplant and was never supposed to be a professional athlete again. And yet, he succeeded at returning to the court and continuing to play at an extremely high level, the way he did his whole career. Number five, Willis Reed, star for the New York Knicks. There are still videos of him on YouTube hobbling out of the locker room in order to lead his team to victory in the NBA playoffs. Number six, Brittany Griner, a tragic story of a woman jailed in Russia for months, now recently returned to her star role in the WNBA. Powerful. Number seven, Olympic gold medalist Greg Louganis, who told me in an interview with him that during one of his Olympic events, he actually hit his head on the diving board coming down, which required multiple stitches. Unsure if he'd be able to continue, he decided to get it another shot and won gold. Mental grit, mental toughness, just like others mentioned here. Number eight, Olympic gold medalist in judo, Kayla Harrison, during my interview with her, told me about the sexual abuse that occurred by her judo coach starting at a very young age, manifesting itself in complete depression as she entered her teenage years. Had she not mentioned this to her mother one day, she may have never reached Olympic gold medal status. The coach was reported by her mother, found guilty, placed in prison, freeing Kayla to go on to pursue her dream of achieving gold medal status for the United States of America. Amazing. Number nine, NFL All-Pro linebacker Keith Mitchell, who I have been so blessed to interview so many times on my radio and TV shows. An example of incredible mental toughness combined with a desire to heal. Keith was paralyzed during a football game, taken to a hospital and rehabilitation center and told he would never walk again. Keith made a decision in his mind that day when he heard that message that would not be his future. He believed that his future would involve him moving and helping others, which he has done at exceptional levels over the last number of years. He is one of the leading health educators and yoga experts in the world, who has gone into multiple training camps to share his knowledge regarding using breath techniques and yoga movements to decrease injury and help rehabilitation. Keith is a rock star who is out in this world doing what people told him he would never be able to do. Mental toughness at its finest. Number 10, tennis sensation Monica Seles was stabbed at a match in 1993, yet found the mental determination and toughness to return to the court she loves so much and continue her championship run for a number of years. Simply remarkable. Number 11, the Miami Heat in 2023 reached the NBA Finals with 7 undrafted players. I do believe this might be the first time in NBA history that a team reached the finals with 7 undrafted players. Do you know how difficult it is to make an NBA team? And if you're not drafted, those odds of difficulty increase dramatically. But that did not deter the 7 incredibly mentally tough individuals from the Miami Heat, which also makes them role models for others who have a desire to play in the NBA but have not been drafted. Where there is a will, these 7 players have just proven there is a way. Number 12, the Los Angeles Dodgers and Andrew Toles. This is an incredible sign that professional athletes and professional athletic organizations are starting to work together. Even though what I'm going to share with you isn't normal, it's extremely powerful. And let's hope this becomes the norm from this day forward. The Dodgers actually re signed the player Andrew so he could keep his health insurance after he was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. These two incredibly destructive mental health conditions can leave people homeless in a heartbeat. We now have Andrew and the Los Angeles Dodgers as well to thank for being so open about how often mental health issues can affect, delay, or actually destroy an athlete's future. It's an exciting time to be involved in helping major league athletes in the world of mental health. Below are just a few direct comments from athletes I've recently worked with. And again, as I've mentioned at the beginning of this book, names and initials are changed to protect the confidentiality of my work. Number one, Major League Baseball. Working with a player who was feeling lost, his performance was diminishing, and they were not sure what to do. Quote, my time working with David helped me get my life back on track. Dealing with some health issues led to hormonal imbalances and felt like my life was spiraling out. It was more than a sport issue, but turmoil within life itself. Through reading and journaling, David and I re-sparked my confidence, paralleled with treatment to get my health back in order, and I skyrocketed, not only back to the confident player, but proud and happy man off the field. David is a true friend, and I am blessed for his guidance. Number two, professional basketball. In professional sports, many of us athletes look at reaching out for help with our emotions or motivation as a sign of weakness. And of course, some of us are concerned that if the head office finds out that we're working with someone in sports psychology, it carries a black mark on our records. Now, this isn't for all teams, but many of the teams I played for at the professional level, we didn't dare tell the staff that we were getting emotional, psychological, or motivational support. David Essel was referred to me by several other professional athletes I played with who saw my incredible potential, but also saw the ways that I was sabotaging my success. My high level of confidence was gone. After they both retired, they told me that I needed to reach out to David and to commit at least 2 or 3 months with his program, and I would see a massive change. And they were right. I have now introduced David to several other of my teammates at the professional level, and I feel now that I only need to touch base with him once a month, that I have everything I need moving forward now to become the best professional athlete ever. And he can cover every area of life, on the court or off the court. He has experience that can help every athlete be the best human being they can possibly be. Number three, professional golf. Jumping from the college ranks to the pros in the world of golf was much more of a mental job than a physical one for me. I had all the physical skills I needed, but at the professional level, the goal that I've had since being a little kid, I had no idea how to prepare myself before a match. David's work with cognitive behavioral therapy was a game changer. I'm not sure how much I'll succeed as a professional golfer, but I know that once I get on tour using his knowledge, I'll let the rest take care of itself. A calm mindset under pressure was the end result of his work. What a bonus. He is great. Number four, professional BMX rider. Our daughter had all the physical skills mastered when it came to becoming a competitive professional BMX rider, but she totally lacked emotional maturity to participate against girls equal or better than her. In other words, she used to freeze and become emotionally disabled prior to her competitions when she knew she was going up against very powerful professional riders. In just a few sessions, David taught her the most powerful mind calming techniques that she had ever encountered, and combined with his visualizations and confidence work, she began to master her emotions before and during events. Powerful. Number five, tennis. As a highly sought after tennis player who dreamed of going pro when I was such a little boy, I thought I was ready for the big leagues until my father, who was my coach at the time, pulled me aside and told me that I was missing immense help in the world of mental toughness when it came to a double fault. And he was right. My game was incredibly competitive. My mind, I thought, was completely strong until my father made that comment. In working with David, he used a special method that if I ever double faulted, instead of my normal disgusting reactions, by following his guidance and his toolbox, I was able to double fault, Simply move to the next service box and within 7 seconds have my mind completely clear of my recent error and now prepared for my next shot. Prior to working with David, I would pout, yell, sometimes throw my racket after a double fault, and it would take me a while to get my mind back in the game. Now, simply 7 seconds later, I have erased the double fault from my mind and feel I'm playing my strongest ever. People from all sports on a daily basis suffer from a variety of mental health conditions, which could be insecurity or overconfidence, arrogance, or we could also go into the world of doubt, overwhelm, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and many of the other signs of mental illness or mental health challenges. Please take advantage of the information in this book to radically change your approach to life, your sport, your future, and so much more. I'm so glad you're joining me for this exciting ride into the world of professional sports and professional athletes. The world of sports helps many people find a positive outlet for their emotions and energies, while at the same time, the world of sports offers professional athletes an opportunity that very few people ever get in life to do exactly what they want to do, to earn an incredible income in doing it, and then to be able to give back to their community on a regular basis, which we will hit on later on in this book. I have been here for the past 43 years, passionately helping professional athletes reach higher levels of success, inner peace, and balance. Let's do this work together. Now, at the end of every chapter will be some questions. And what I'd love for you to do is as you go through this audio book, listen to the questions. If you can, stop and write your answers, or if not, come back and fill it out later. Here we go. Number one. In this chapter, what was covered in detail? Be as detail oriented as possible. Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? And number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? These questions are incredibly important to answer after every chapter. Chapter 2. The mental health challenges for professional athletes are astronomical. Think about this. Only 1% of college athletes make it to the pros. Let me repeat that. Only 1% of college athletes make it to the pros. It takes much more than great talent to make it and stay in the professional league, whatever your sport might be. This alone puts incredible pressure on athletes to make it to the professional level because even though they may be as confident as ever, they also know how fortunate they are because 99% of individuals would do whatever it could possibly take to make it, and they haven't made it yet. But you have, which means the expectations about your performance will always be higher as the years go by. The higher expectations will go along with a higher salary, pressure from coaches, front office, teammates, and of course, fans. And that's not even talking about the pressure of, quote, self imposed expectation that every professional athlete has to improve on a daily, monthly, and annual basis as they move forward in their career. Athletes should be creating new goals for each area of their sports. The pressure is astronomical. And then we have sponsorship pressure. Whether it's a shoe company or some other organization, they expect you to continue to carry their name forward into the public eye in the most positive way possible. You, the professional athlete, are under a microscope. Sponsors will drop you in a heartbeat if they see something that does not match with their ethical views in life. The pressure continues to build. As athletes make more money, there is more expected from them. This can take a huge toll mentally to continue to push and push and push to improve, improve, and improve. Or the fear is that we may lose one of the greatest gifts we've ever had, a position in professional sports. And let's not forget the family and relationship pressure that I mentioned earlier about being on the road, away from loved ones, away from partners, away from children, and even best friends can put immense pressure on individuals as they strive to create as long of a career in the professional sports arena as possible. And then we run into addictions with alcohol and drug use to, quote, minimize the pressure, end quote, at the end of the game, whether we have won or lost. The great tennis star Andre Agassi admitted in a New York Times interview that in the 1990s, he was addicted to methamphetamine. In the article, he stated that the reason he used that drug was to help manage all the pressure he was under on a daily basis to perform at higher and higher levels, not just for himself, but also for the massive sponsorships and tournament money awaiting him. Many athletes that I've worked with have said the same thing, that they rely heavily on pot or alcohol in the evening after a game to calm their nerves, to maybe even take away the pain of a loss. It is a very well known fact that just a year or so ago at the US Open tennis tournament, that one of the stars was drinking a beer during a press conference, and her response to any criticism was, quote, I'm just trying to deal with the pressure that I feel and the sadness of a loss, end quote. These are terrible messages to give to the fans of these two individuals, as well as the fans of anyone else who is struggling in the world of addiction. I understand at a completely different level what it feels like to underperform or to not meet my own financial expectations or relationship expectations. And I'm just one man who has committed his life to helping others to heal. That has also struggled as well. And there's more pressure. This is called peer pressure. Many athletes that I've worked with have told me that on certain teams there was pressure to, quote, go clubbing, end quote, or go out late at night after a win or a loss. Several athletes have told me that on some rosters, it doesn't matter if they win or lose, they felt pressure that if they didn't join those who were out in the evening, somehow they weren't part of the team. Nothing could be further from the truth. We've recently seen in the NBA players getting into immense trouble with the league because of what they were caught doing after hours during road trips. If we don't have very powerful emotional regulation skills that we teach all of our professional athletes, we can easily fall victim to any type of peer pressure. The peer pressure may be coming from childhood friends that are still around us, encouraging us to hit the clubs or to do anything else that may interfere with our reputation and or our performance. And there's even more pressure that these professional athletes are under regarding mental health issues that many of them are fearful to have exposed because of the, quote, black mark, end quote, that might be put on the resume. These athletes oftentimes struggle for years with undiagnosed depression, anxiety, PTSD, and believe it or not, low self confidence and even low self esteem, ADD, ADHD, as well as unhealed trauma from childhood. It's one of the reasons that we keep everything 100% confidential so that the professional athletes I work with don't have to worry about me leaking any information about the work we're doing together. The one thing I want to make clear, there is not a lack of treatment for depression or anxiety or low self confidence or low self esteem or peer pressure. There's plenty of treatment options available. As a professional counselor, we've been helping individuals for so many years with these mental health issues. And many times they can be healed or extremely reduced in a short period of time when we're using the correct psychological tools available today. And once again, the fear of backlash, that someone may find out that they're getting help for their depression or their low confidence or anxiety or even sleep issues can keep many professional athletes under the radar, not receiving the help that they needed for such a long time. And financial stress? Oh, yes. I've worked with athletes making more money than you could ever believe that get themselves into financial jams because they're purchasing cars and houses for friends and family way before they've made a formal financial plan. Or may I even say the hated word budget, in order to manage their affairs and not run into any problems that many athletes run into financially at some point during or after their playing days. Remember, for many professional athletes, the length of time they spend in the professional leagues may only be 2 or 4 or 8 years. Not everyone is a Tom Brady or a LeBron James that can last 20 years going through the brutal punishment of sports. So, most athletes need to get strong financial guidance right after they sign the deal in order to make sure that someone who is trustworthy is helping them manage their money, which really is managing their future. Financial stress can be a mental health issue. Several athletes that I've worked with came to me simply because they lost, quote, the fire to compete at an extremely high level anymore, end quote. Now, this might sound strange to the American public that an athlete making millions of dollars a year could possibly lose their fire to compete, but it happens on a regular basis. Currently, I'm working with one professional athlete who did lose his fire to compete. And within just a matter of months, we had him totally turned around, back to his fiery old self, competing at an extremely high level once again. This loss of the fire needed to compete at the professional level could come from financial stress, relationship stress. It could also come from a series of games or matches that where we have underperformed and we start to create insecurity and self-doubt. Or the fire could be lost from undiagnosed depression. Simply being on the road as much as these professional athletes are can create stress, of course. But if it's used correctly, it can also be time that the athlete either spends working on his or her game, or there may be some other options to take advantage of this time of travel or the time of the off season. Hey, here's a great example. Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts last year completed his master's degree while leading the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl. What an incredible, powerful use of his free time. And he's not the only star that has taken advantage of downtime during travel and the off-season months to continue to improve his life at various levels. In regards to our social justice movements, which need so much help, LeBron James is leading the way with his involvement to help close the divide between blacks and whites. Unfortunately, it shouldn't even be part of the conversation today, but it is. And we need stars like him to step up and to lead us to wisdom and common sense. Of course, other players can decide that they want to devote more time to take courses on spirituality or to learn another language. Or you may be thinking about building a new business that you're going to open after your playing days are over. All of these ideas are phenomenal, but the most important thing to do is to take advantage of the free time that you do have to move your life forward in a more powerful and positive direction. And the final area that I'll talk about that puts great pressure and mental stress upon professional athletes is helping them to decide what to do after their playing days are over. I remember interviewing the great running back from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Ernest Graham, and he told me that he had taken his signing bonus when he joined the pro ranks and invested in it. And then over several years had decided he wanted to start an insurance business prior to even retiring from the NFL. And he did so and walked away from football right into a new career. We help athletes make that decision of where it is best for them to put their time, energy, motivation, and money so they have a very solid idea of what they're going to do when their career ends. And remember, even an incredibly skilled athlete can have their career ended immediately through injury. So, this isn't something that we ask professional athletes to wait until the twilight of their career to plan, but instead we say start planning now. Be proactive with all the mental health stressors above, which is what our work is based on. And you will find yourself with a new attitude and maybe even a new outlook with a higher amount of gratitude for the gifts, the skills, opportunities you've been given up to this date. The next area they can create great mental stress for professional athletes is the question, quote, who am I when the spotlight is not on me, end quote. This is all about identity. When players reach a certain age or a certain level of competition where they may have been the star in the past, but it might be time for them to take on a different role. Several examples of individuals who have done this with great success would be the Miami Heat's Kyle Lowry and another superstar, Russell Westbrook, who was asked to come off the bench during his time with the Los Angeles Lakers. Some athletes take this as an extreme negative. Their attitude starts to go down and their confidence starts to wane. But these two All Stars just did the opposite. When they came off the bench, they came off with fire, determination. They know their role has changed and they've accepted it, which decreases stress immensely. Other athletes, when they're asked to change their role like this and become part of the quote second team, end quote, will try to push back or ask to be traded or become a deterrent for the team with their drop in attitude. Again, the stressors these professional athletes undergo on a daily basis are simply immense. Now, end of chapter questions. You already know what's coming up. I want you to make sure you're doing the work. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter. Number 2, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number 3, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Chapter 3, your path to higher success starts right here. I'm going to lead you through a series of questions. These questions are incredibly powerful. If we were working together one on one, we would go into even greater detail with these questions along with other exercises in order to help you, the professional athlete, master the world of mental health and maximize your physical capacity within your chosen sport. These exercises must be done in writing. We tell people this all the time. Never trust your brain. The most powerful improvement that you can ever make will be putting down the following answers to the questions you'll be reading on paper or your computer, because then they become more real. Whatever is left in your head will stay there, and like a dog chasing its tail, you will go round and around and around without any solutions to your challenges. So we do the exact opposite, as we have for 43 years, and it really works. Number 1, what are your physical and athletic strengths for your professional sport in great detail? Now, this is going to be another writing exercise. So as I read this, when I get done and say, okay, now's the time to write, if you want, put this on pause and write your answers right away. It's the best way to work with this book. Please list as many of your physical and athletic strengths in the spaces on your computer or the tablet that you have right now. As an example, maybe in your sport, you're ambidextrous, which would be an amazing physical, advantageous move on your part, correct? Or maybe your serve in tennis is your strongest talent. You can also ask a teammate or a coach, if you get stuck with this question, what they believe your physical and athletic strengths are. This exercise is extremely important for you to know your strengths, because when you see them in writing, it will boost your confidence level. And when you hit a stretch in your chosen athletic career where you may be underperforming, all you have to do is go back to this list to remind yourself of who you really are, not the slow streak that you may be involved with right now. This is why we want people to write as much as possible. If you'd like, put a pause right now and write down all of your physical gifts, talents, and strengths in your profession. Number 2, what physical or athletic area of your profession needs improvement? Again, be completely open and honest with yourself when you answer this question, because this will be the key to your success. Let me repeat this. When professional athletes take the time to write down what areas of their performance needs improvement, and then they go ahead and apply certain practices to overcome those challenges or eliminate those weaknesses, this is where your career will start to skyrocket. We can only hide our limitations in any sport for so long before the opposing teams or opponents see a pattern of our challenges or a pattern of our weaknesses, and then devise a plan to outplay you. It happens all the time, but it's not necessary for this to happen. And if you're completely honest with this exercise in writing, we can begin to see changes happening quicker than you might believe. Maybe your challenge could be shooting free throws, or handling a slider in baseball, or playing against a lefty in tennis. We all have our Achilles heel, and the sooner we can find it and write it down, the sooner we can begin to put exercises into place to strengthen our weaknesses. And I must say this once again, the key to your advancement in any chosen athletic career will be your ability to eliminate your weaknesses. Now, here's where the work begins. What are your physical skill of sport limitation or weaknesses? Stop if you can right now, put this on pause and write. I want you to think really deeply when you look at the limitations above. What type of practice routine do you need to add that you're not doing now to help limit or completely obliterate these weaknesses? One quick example that comes to mind just happened recently in the NBA playoffs. Duncan Robinson, who plays for the Miami Heat, and believe it or not, in just a few seasons with Miami, became their most prolific three-point scorer ever. Saw limited time in the beginning of the playoff series. As the playoffs went on, his minutes became less and less until the end of the Boston series, when coach Eric Spoelstra put him in for a few minutes and he performed beyond expectations. Duncan, who was an incredible straight up three-point shooter, somehow in the last series of games, as Miami was going after the NBA championship, started moving without the ball every play down the court. He was cutting again. All of a sudden, Duncan Robinson, who is known for his incredible three-point accuracy, was actually shooting layup after layup. Somehow, whether he figured it out himself or the coaching staff helped him, he saw one of his weaknesses was standing still as a three-point shooter, obviously limiting his movement, which limited his success. Once he applied this new version of himself, a hard driving, constantly moving Duncan Robinson, his playing time went up immensely. And he became one of the reasons why they continued on to the finals against Denver. Remember, your strengths will always be leading you to higher levels of success in your chosen profession, but it is eliminating your weaknesses that is truly the key to go to the highest level of performance that you could ever possibly imagine for yourself. Number three, now is the time to list all of your emotional and psychological strengths that have allowed you to reach the current level of success you're enjoying right now. Some of the examples of emotional or psychological strengths would be to have emotional regulation skills to let go of a loss after examining what you need to do differently in the next performance within a very short time after the loss has occurred. Or a great example comes from NBA All-Star Reggie Miller, who regularly reminds us as a TV analyst that great shooters in the NBA have no memory of how many shots they've missed in any contest. This is always such a powerful tool for individuals in sports to remember that, as Reggie says, if he missed 10 in a row, he continued shooting as if he just made 10 in a row. If he missed 10, he would continue shooting as if he made 10. Can you emblazon that in your brain for your specific sport? That is a powerful mental attitude. Now, I'm going to pause for a second for you. I want you to list below every emotional and psychological strength that you bring to your sport at every match right now. Number four. Now, what emotional or psychological areas of your performance need improvement? Do you struggle under pressure? Do you allow a poor game or match to ruminate in your brain for days upon days after the event? Are there certain other professional players that, quote, get into your head, end quote, and affect your performance? These are just a few examples, but I want you to go deep inside your own mindset and once again ask fellow teammates or coaches to help you with this question if you can't think of any states of mind that need improvement. Right now, the psychological areas that need improvement in your mind for your sport. Number five, here's your opportunity to write down the steps that you will take to overcome any weaknesses that you might be bringing forward with your mental or psychological approach to your sport. Be specific. Write down as many of the new tools or activities you're going to start using on a regular basis to overcome these challenges. Who do you need to hire to help you reach the next level? Who do you need to work with that may have answers or maybe even shortcuts to help you let go of psychological or mental limitation so that you can continue to rise to higher levels of success in your chosen sport? Write those answers now. Mental health challenges can come in so many shapes and sizes, and professional athletes oftentimes want to minimize any type of notion that they may be challenged right now by something like depression or anxiety. PTSD, sleep issues, irritability, or anger issues, addictions, and hey, let's just admit it, the list goes on and on and on. Take the time to evaluate your own life right now. Are you starting to isolate more from others? Have you dropped friendships that were healthy for you? Or have you added friendships that may not be the best for you? Have you lost joy in doing certain hobbies that you used to look forward to participating in the past? Do you find yourself getting into arguments on a regular basis with a loved one, a sibling, or partner, or children? Do you find yourself becoming a victim in life? That when other people are holding you accountable for the changes you need to make, either mentally or physically, to become better in your sport, are you pushing them away? Are you refusing to listen to outside voices that say that changes may need to be made in either your lifestyle or your attitude or the people that you surround yourself with? All of these questions are incredibly important to look at because, as someone who struggled with depression and anxiety for over 30 years, even as a counselor, I wasn't paying attention to the signs I listed above that told me I was struggling deeply with clinical depression. Until 1990, when I realized and accepted the fact that I was dealing with this deep depression. My lack of desire to look at the blatant signs that I was beginning to drink too much, that I was getting into situations that were unnecessary for me to be in, started to open my eyes that maybe even I, as a counselor, I needed help to get back on track. And I did. And I still do today. I think it's a sign of strength, not weakness, when men and women who are successful in life admit they need help, reach out for it, and get it. I'll never forget a public service announcement put out by the NBA recently where All-Star Kevin Love made such a profound statement when he said, quote, reaching out for help for my mental health issues was one of the best things I've ever done in my life, end quote. Counselors are no different than athletes. Regardless of how high we reach in our levels of success in life, we are simply human, just like you, just like the coaches, trainers, and medical staff of any team. We are all simply human, trying to find our way along this sometimes difficult path called life. It's not only okay to ask for help, it's imperative that we ask for help. Think about that. Really think about that. Acceptance is the starting point. Acceptance is the key to growing in life. When we accept the fact that we are not at our best mentally, psychologically, or physically, we open the doorway for change to happen. The lack of acceptance, the covering up the issues with alcohol or porn or video games or any other type of distraction, will only deepen our mental health challenges. Facing them head on through acceptance is step one. This will create the opportunity for you to maximize your potential and go to even higher levels of performance and happiness than you may have ever experienced in life. And how do we begin the healing after acceptance? Let's look at a variety of options to help us heal. Professional counseling, right off the top, is number one. A counselor, therapist, mental health coach, psychologist, sports psychology coach, psychiatrist. Depending on the circumstances we're struggling with, any of these could be a great place to begin. Changes in lifestyle with better sleep, a better diet could be huge in helping us to learn how to deal with any mental health or psychological issues. Grabbing a mentor, an older athlete that has overcome similar challenges could be a huge aid in your growth, just like working with a counselor who has overcome huge challenges could help you as well. Short-term medication is sometimes necessary. And when I say short-term, we'll really look at it differently for every athlete. No one is the same. Everyone's brain chemistry can be totally different. What I have found in the past is if someone is dealing with deep clinical depression or uncontrolled anxiety, up to 90 days on a specific medication from your team physician combined with mental and physical challenges could result in dramatic improvement in how you feel about yourself and your sport. And then regarding lifestyle changes, of course, we have meditation, acupuncture, craniosacral therapy, massage, Pilates, cryotherapy. The list goes on and on and on and on. But the great news is that you're never alone. There are individuals like me and millions of other professionals in this field who are available to help you right now. Never give up. Never give up. Never, ever give up. And now, the end of chapter questions. If it's possible, stop after each question and you can write your answers now. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Chapter 4. What created my ongoing passion for helping athletes to improve their mental and physical performances? This is a question that's quite easy for me to answer. From a very young age, sports were my life. Just like many professional athletes who began with an attraction to a specific sport or sports at a very young age. The only difference? Well, I never made it to the pros. So instead of becoming a professional athlete, basketball was my sport of choice, of course, I decided to pursue the next best thing to help professional athletes go through a series of exercises and programs with me one on one to maximize both their mental approach to their game as well as their physical approach as their sports psychology coach. Eventually, this led me to getting my master's degree in sports psychology, exercise physiology, and marketing. And for the past 43 years, I have had such an incredible time working with athletes, their families, their coaches, their teammates, and more. But it began for me probably just like it did for you if you're an athlete or a coach reading this book right now. I began around the age of 6 years old to sleep with my basketball next to me in bed every night. I played 24/7, 365 days in a row, regardless of the weather in Syracuse, New York. And if you know anything about the weather in Syracuse, most days I was either shooting in rain, sleet, or snow. I laugh right now, thinking back and being out in the middle of winter with only part of the driveway shoveled, mittens on, believe it or not, and shooting baskets for hours upon hours upon hours. There was nothing that could get in the way of my favorite sport, and thank God I had the support of my mom and dad. We were very middle class. Money was always very tight. My parents were incredible in the world of budgeting. But if I or my brother or sister needed something for an athletic event, they would do the very best they could to make sure we had the top equipment that they could afford. So, starting at 6, my love of sports began. It was followed by years and years of practice in all types of conditions against all types of players. My bedroom wall, maybe just like yours, was covered with so many pictures of my favorite athletes. And because my chosen sport was basketball, almost every photo in my room was a basketball star from that time. Leading, of course, was one of my favorite guards of all time, Earl the Pearl Monroe. And then we can follow that up with photos of Gail Goodrich, Clyde Frazier, Dr. Julius Irving, Jerry West, Mike Newland, who was a fierce competitor and amazing defensive player from the Houston Rockets, Willis Reed, Bob McAdoo, Wes Unseld, and of course the great Pete Maravich. My teammates would call me, quote, Earl the Pearl Essel, end quote, which brought a huge smile to my face. And I tried to mimic so many of his moves. I tried to copy the hairstyle of Pistol Pete Maravich with his floppy gray socks that I begged my mom to buy me so I could be just like Pistol Pete. Thinking back to these times brings a great smile to my face. And I probably believe that you had a similar experience growing up as well because of your own love of your sport. I think it was at the age of around 10 or 11 that I actually went to my first basketball camp that we could afford. And then as my mom and dad were leaving the camp, I was going to be there for a week. I remember I had the greatest breakdown I ever thought I would have, crying that my mother was leaving me. Isn't that amazing? I remember sitting on the side of the road near the camp, just wanting them to come back. And then she did come back, just for a moment. They drove back so I could hold her one more time. I was such a scared little kid, but it ended up being one of the greatest experiences because I was actually now playing at a much higher level against more competitive athletes than I had ever played up until that time. It was about the same year that while living in Syracuse, New York, I found out that the Baltimore Bullets were coming to the Syracuse War Memorial Auditorium to play an exhibition game against the New York Knicks. I couldn't believe it. Earl the Pearl Monroe, my favorite guard ever, was coming to my hometown. I had practiced his spin move, his reverse spin move, his reverse fake spin move so many times that I thought I could do anything on the court, mimicking one of the greatest players I've ever watched in Mr. Monroe. It was a blizzard that night, and my father decided to cancel our trip to see the game and even possibly meet some of the stars that were playing for Baltimore and New York in that era. Because the blizzard was so intense, he didn't want to risk getting in an accident or getting stuck on the highway. But I couldn't stand for that to happen. So I begged my mom and dad to please go anyway. Please take me down. I want to at least see the guys, even if the game is canceled. I know there's going to be somebody there I can meet. Finally, my mom talked my dad into taking a chance and going down, and we got there to find no cars in the parking lot, just us. We were able to get into the first door, but the second door that led you into the gymnasium was locked. My heart sank. It was broken. I wanted so badly to see Earl play that I was willing to do whatever it took. Yet, after doing everything I could think of to get there, we were going to miss the players. After a few minutes, my father said it's time to return, that no players are coming, when a car pulled up. And I asked my dad to wait inside with me to see who it might be. And oh my God, when the door opened, these two monsters of men, remember, I'm only 10 or 12 years of age, came walking in right away, and it was my hero, Earl the Pearl Monroe. He was dressed like a rock star, pure style. A long winter jacket that went down to his shiny black boots and a huge smile on his face. He told us there was going to be no game, that everything was canceled, but that he and Fred Carter had decided they were going to just come and shoot around for a while. But I was absolutely in heaven. Of course, I immediately grabbed my paper and pen and asked for his autograph, and I got both of them. It's funny in life how an experience like this can move a person so dramatically. My love for the game went up dramatically after simply meeting Earl Monroe and Fred Carter. My desire to practice increased dramatically. It's almost like I was taken over by another spirit at the time and began to look at basketball much more seriously than I ever had in the past. Even though to me it was a love of the game that got me going out and shooting through the winters, this one experience really changed me forever. Now it was time to enter high school, about 13 or 14 years of age. I was excited and at the same time anxious because my love of the sport was so high, but my confidence wasn't quite there yet. I went to Bishop Grimes High School in Syracuse, New York, and the first coach I had was for both my freshman and sophomore year, and it was hell on wheels for me. Mr. Larry Miller was the coach, and he came down on me harder than any other player on the team. And of course, I did not appreciate it or respect him at all. It didn't matter what I was doing, it always seemed like I was doing it wrong. And running sprints became a huge part of every practice for me because that was the penalty that Larry thought I should pay in order to grind in what he was trying to teach me at a deeper level. I was frustrated, unhappy. I wanted to be the star shooting guard, and he had me as a point guard, emphasizing defense, defense, and more defense. What freshman in high school wants to focus on defense? Not me. But he never let up. He pushed me harder than anyone I could have ever imagined pushing me. I reluctantly played hard for him. I reluctantly did not give up. I thought it was a waste of my time to be with someone so uncaring that he would constantly look for ways to criticize me at every practice. I begged my parents to let me transfer to another school. After a lot of negotiation and actually even working with a counselor, the counselor agreed with me and convinced my parents to allow me to transfer to Cicero High School, a public school in Cicero, New York. There, I wouldn't have, in my mind anyway, the tenacity of a coach that Larry Miller was and the punishment I seemed to go through in every practice. But wait, the story now is going to really unfold, and you probably can guess what happened. But if not, here we go. Dale Hesser, my coach at Cicero High for the last 2 years of my high school career, pulled me aside after one summer league game before the start of my junior year and asked me where I learned to play such tenacious defense. And then he would ask me where I learned to handle the ball the way I did. And then he asked me who taught me the importance of physical conditioning. I could run for hours and never get tired, and my new coach was just curious as to where I learned all of this from. Well, you already know the answer. Coach Larry Miller was the reason that I came to this new school playing at such an extremely high level. Without him, I never would have made that impression on my new coach. Now stop and think for a moment. Is there a coach that you've had in the past that you couldn't stand, or maybe even currently? Someone you thought was incredibly unrealistic with what they were asking you to do over and over again? That coach or that trainer could have been, or maybe still is, one of the greatest gifts you'll ever get in your performance as an athlete. I now look back at Larry Miller in awe. I've actually tried to find him several times without luck to let him know the powerful impact he had on my life when I thought he was literally just being a pain in my butt. And of course, you know the story gets even better. After high school, my number one dream was to play for my Division I hometown school, Syracuse University. The odds extremely low. Oh my lord, I had one offer from a small school to play basketball, but I wanted to play with the big boys. I wanted to play for the Syracuse Orange. I wanted to be a star in my own hometown, so I decided to go out for the team as a walk-on, and I made it. Oh my lord, one of the greatest days of my life was when the coaches were calling the names of players, only 12, that would make up the junior varsity team at Syracuse University, and I was one of them. It worked. My dreams were becoming my reality. And during one of the early scrimmages, when the team had been selected, the coaches pulled me aside and asked me the same questions my high school coach had asked me. Where did you learn to play that kind of defense? Who taught you how to slide your feet like that on defense? Who taught you how to take offensive charges on a regular basis? Who taught you how to rebound against guys 12 inches taller than you? And the answer to every question? Coach Larry Miller. Oh my Lord, Coach Larry Miller, you really made a difference in my world. As I played at Syracuse University, it became apparent to me finally that some of the coaches and trainers we have that we don't appreciate and like are some of our greatest teachers put in our pathway to force us to become more than we ever thought we could be. I need to thank the junior varsity coaches, Tommy Green and Mark Metters. And the varsity coach at that time was Roy Danforth, was his assistant, believe it or not, Jim Boeheim. After 2 years on the junior varsity team, where I averaged 83% from the free throw line and 10 points a game, Coach Roy Danforth called me into his office and asked me one question. Essel, how badly do you want to be a member of the Syracuse University basketball team moving forward? How would it feel to know that I have a spot for you on the varsity team right now? It has your name on it, and you've got it for the next 2 years. How does that feel, Essel? End quote. I was stunned, excited, happy, exuberant, everything at once. And then he landed the next line on me that so many athletes have also heard that I was not prepared for. Quote, Essel, I'm glad you're ready to step up for your final 2 years of basketball in your hometown with Syracuse University. The only thing I'm going to tell you is that you will rarely ever play in games. You are a defensive monster, and I need you to use that defense in practice against the new guys coming in. These kids can really play, but I want you in practice hounding them like you do every practice. I want you to push them beyond levels of what they might even experience in the game. Essel, you'll get to shoot. I know you love your jump shot. In practice, you'll get to shoot as well. But there will be minimal minutes for you over the next 2 years in actual playing games for the university. End quote. Wow. My heart broke. I didn't know what to say. Everything I had dreamed about for years now was coming to a crushing end. Do I really want to spend so many hours in practice with a heavy workload of my academics and try to balance and struggle the way I had my first 2 years of playing ball at Syracuse? Could I handle the fact that I'd be working my tail off, making other players better and never get into a game? Or rarely, if ever, get into a game? I had watched a year before as two players that I got to know quite well also were on the varsity and they never played. And I saw how difficult it was for them, even when we were ahead by 15 or 20 points with a couple minutes left. They were still on the bench. So I went home and talked to my roommate, Jake the Snake Jacoby. We talked for hours upon hours upon hours of what the right move would be. If I remember correctly, it was about 5 a.m. when we came to the conclusion that I had to go back in and talk to Coach Danforth and tell him I made a decision not to continue my basketball career at Syracuse. It sucked. It was hard. It was disappointing. It was a tough decision to make, but I felt that it was the right one for me. Coach Danforth accepted my resignation. He wasn't happy. He thought I had made the wrong move. but he accepted it anyway. And I walked out of the office with my head down, wondering, would I ever regret giving up the last 2 years at Syracuse University basketball because I wasn't going to play as much as I did, anywhere near as much as I did, or ever play like the first 2 years of being there? I sat and cried. I really did. I didn't know what else to do. I reflected back 2 years. I was so proud to be part of the Syracuse University basketball team. I was running the football stadium steps with a 50-pound weight vest on my back. Back then, we didn't believe in weight training, but I did a ton of calisthenics and some training on my own so that I could battle underneath the boards with the big men in the league, which I did regularly, and I loved it. Reflecting back on the hours of practice in all kinds of weather, reflecting back on being in practice and actually having several of my teammates coming up to me after almost every practice asking me to go easier on them defensively. They didn't like the fact that I was playing defense in practice just like I would if it was a tournament game, for God's sake. I loved playing my hardest in both practice and games. I had started to reflect on how much I had learned from my coaches, Larry Miller and Dale Hesser, and all the kind of coaches I mentioned from Syracuse University, and it was profound. The lessons that basketball taught me about my own capabilities, starting off as a walk-on at Syracuse University. I mean, the odds are 1 billion to 1, and I overcame those odds. I started to feel proud of myself for what I had accomplished, but still sad that I would not be wearing a Syracuse University uniform any longer. I remember that summer. I was always involved in different summer leagues in the Syracuse area, going to the different courts and just lighting them up like I never had before. Even though I wasn't returning to play for Syracuse anymore, I still loved basketball and was taking everything I learned from these brilliant coaches like Roy Danforth and Jim Boeheim and it just turned into a beast on the court. So as I walked away from the sport I loved, I've never walked away from these incredible memories. The players I played with, the coaches that guided me to be the best David Essel ever. These amazing memories will always be a part of my existence. But hold on, the story still doesn't end there. A few years ago, I was invited back to Syracuse University to do the graduation commencement speech. In February of that year, I was flown up by the university to meet with administration and also to meet with former Syracuse and NFL great running back, the late Floyd Little, who, with his wife Deborah, were actually bringing me onto campus to speak in the administration building a few months prior to my commencement address. After speaking in the administration building with Floyd and Deborah, I had a chance that night to catch a Syracuse University basketball game, and Floyd Little set up the opportunity for me to sneak into the practice and to say hi to former coach Jim Boeheim. Then, the coolest thing in the world happened that actually blew my mind. As I go into the basketball practice session, which was just about to end as a game was the next night, I saw Coach Jim Boeheim putting on his winter jacket, and I yelled out to him, quote, "Hey, Coach, stay right there. I'd love to talk to you for a moment," end quote. To my absolute shock and surprise, he turns around and looks at me and says, quote, "Essel, I hear you're doing great things in the world of psychology. Congratulations. It's great to see you," end quote. I mean, oh my God, that was after 40 years the last time I had seen him. 40 years later, and the coach, Jim Boeheim, remembers the Syracuse University walk-on, David Essel. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, it put me over the moon with his memory. And that tells you so much about what an incredible person he is. For Jim Boeheim to remember David Essel was one of the highlights of my life. Now, that might sound silly, but basketball still means so much to me that seeing someone from 40 years ago that had a huge impact on my life in the same sport, of course, is going to excite me today. And now comes my work with athletes. Going back for my master's degree, deciding to become a sports psychology coach, amongst many other things that I do, has been one of the most fulfilling professional moves I've ever made. And it all started at 6 years of age by sleeping with my basketball every night in bed. It's still so adorable for me to reflect upon. Basketball and sports have been such an important part of my life. And to this day, I still shoot hoops. Even though my knees are shot, I still shoot several days a week. I play tennis every week. I stay incredibly active and fit, both mentally and physically, which gives me a great advantage. Still loving my work with professional athletes today. Along with taking time on a weekly basis to shoot hoops for my own involvement and enjoyment, I'm also involved with fundraisers around basketball as well. Just a few years ago, I joined forces with Florida Gulf Coast University in Fort Myers, Florida, and I created a fundraiser called Hoops for Homeless Veterans. The goal was to get sponsorship, and then I would shoot 1,000 free throws. Or let me correct that. I would shoot until I made 1,000 free throws, whether it took me 2 hours or 15 hours. I told the sponsors and the university I would be there as long as it took for me to make that amount. We had multiple veterans come out to support the event, and I got a chance to meet quite a few of the homeless veterans that were staying at Salvation Armies and other such places. And they were all amazing to talk to. Each of them had stories that would blow your mind and made the event so much more impactful for me. Now, it ended up only taking me 1,100 shots to make my 1,000 free throws, which excited me to no end. I only missed 100 free throw attempts in order to make 1,000, and we were in and out of the arena in just a couple hours. Since then, I have offered other cities the same opportunity that I would come in and do the same fundraising event for homeless veterans in their area. Giving back is incredibly important, something that you know as a professional athlete very, very well. I love helping people get out of mental or physical ruts in life. I love helping people find ways to stay more in control of their emotional responses during games and events. I love helping professional athletes heal their relationships or their physical bodies through the different exercises that we use, or helping them redirect their diet so they have more energy and more focus during games, or teaching one of the millions of psychological tools that we have that allow people to come back from serious injuries, come back from trades they didn't want to happen, come back and play in a position part time instead of their normal full time role in sports. It doesn't matter what your challenges are. Every one of your challenges is an opportunity for me to help you reach higher levels in life. And I've worked with every sport imaginable over the last 43 years: basketball, football, tennis, golf, BMX racing, baseball, and the list goes on and on and on. My passion for sports is just like yours, endless. Let's go for it. Today, let's make it happen. Let's bring every area of your life up to the highest level possible and your way to the top of your sport. Now, end of chapter questions. Again, if you'd like, after I ask the question, you can pause this and write your answers. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Chapter 5, preparing your mind and body for top performance and extending your career. Confidence. Even unrealistic confidence is necessary in the world of professional athletics. It sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? I've heard so many TV analysts, and of course, my own professional clients, tell me that they have had guys join the team with average to good physical skills, but what really made them stand out was their confidence and their fearless approach to every game or match they are in. Love it. I'm not talking about the kind of overconfidence that creates arrogance, but more like the level of confidence that says, bring it on. I'm ready to do my best. And then I'm ready to do my best again and again and again. That's what we're talking about. Now, most professional athletes would say that they are already right there, that they are extremely confident. But I know from my work with professional athletes over the years, it's not always the truth. So we make sure that your confidence level is at an all-time high, whether we're talking about preseason practice or when your actual season begins. Number one, mental toughness will unlock your pure physical potential. Mental toughness can be seen in so many professional athletes who never back down, whether it's coming back from a serious injury and years of rehabilitation or simply a series of poor games or matches. The ultimate athlete bounces back time after time again. Are you there? Or when something doesn't go the way you expect, Does it have a negative performance during your match, during your practices, or even during the off season? With mental toughness at the highest level possible, we can accept the tragedies, we can accept the setbacks, the trades, we can accept the injuries, we can accept even a change in our role in our profession without letting our attitude become diminished along with it. In this year NBA playoffs, I saw extreme mental toughness from Jimmy Butler as he led the Miami Heat to the NBA Finals. There was never an excuse. Even when he had an ankle injury during the playoffs, he would always respond to reporters' questions with the same answer, quote, "My ankle is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. We just have to play harder," end quote. Talk about mental toughness. And how about other athletes in the recent Super Bowl, World Series, World Cup who have played through incredible injuries or massive challenges off the court, yet stayed focused through their mental toughness? In the last year or so, there have been several athletes that during the season who lost their mother or lost their father, and they highly recommend a short downtime to begin the grieving process. If something like this happens during the season, we also have tools to help individuals deal with off court tragedies so that they have minimal effect on the player's performance during the season. We're not turning these people into robots, we're allowing them to feel. But with certain techniques and tools, they can still feel the tragedy while performing at their highest level possible. We're not asking these players, I'm going to say this again, to become robots, but rather we're teaching them strong psychological tools so that they can learn how to balance the tragedy with their responsibility as a professional athlete. Yes, we can help you do that. To enhance mental toughness, we'll use a variety of techniques, many that you already know about. Visualization, which I'll talk about a little later on in the book, meditation, positive affirmations, not only in your mind, but verbally spoken out loud and written in a journal that we take all of our athletes through so they can see their progress in writing, not just in their mind. To enhance mental toughness, we'll use techniques in psychotherapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, the Sedona method, and also several techniques that we teach our athletes on how to stay focused, completely focused regardless of what's going on around them. Cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the most powerful techniques that we offer in the world of counseling that can literally change your mindset or attitude in a matter of 3 to 7 seconds. It's that powerful, it's that effective. With cognitive behavioral therapy, we're looking at a challenge that we may not know how to overcome, or a challenge that creates frustration or insecurity. And with, believe it or not, a quick snap of a rubber band followed by two very simple statements can literally change your frustration after a double fault in tennis into a non event as you simply walk to the second service box and begin your next serve. Could it literally be that quick and easy? Yes. So let me give you an example of how we've used this with athletes in the past. In basketball, so many of our clients had struggled at the free throw line, would shoot one free throw, miss, and their attitude would automatically go into the negative, dramatically decreasing their chances of making the second free throw with any confidence at all. So, what we have our athletes do is if they miss a free throw, there's a quick snap of the rubber band on their wrist, and they can do this with their hands behind their back, followed by the words, "Cancel that thought, I am free." Now, here's where it gets interesting. The snapping of the band creates discomfort, obviously, on the wrist, but the pain signal actually resonates in the brain milliseconds before you feel it on the wrist. The physiology and psychology of the brain is so incredibly beautiful, which is why this is one of the most popular, even though it's an older technique for counselors and therapists around the world. The premise of how this works is as follows. As a thought arises in your mind, quote, "I might miss this next free throw," end quote, and that thought is matched by the sting when you snap the rubber band, which remember, first appears in the brain starts to recognize a pattern that every time it has a limiting or negative thought, it's matched by a sting. As we continue to use cognitive behavioral therapy on a regular basis, the thought of, quote, "I might miss this shot," end quote, being matched by the discomfort in the brain from the sting, as you can imagine over time, starts to diminish the negative or limiting thoughts and insecurity at the free throw line. So it's the matching of the brain of discomfort right alongside the insecure thought or the thought of anger that's taking away your focus that brings us back to being centered. in the present moment, ready to connect with that next free throw, the next serve, the next pitch, or whatever activity, sport is demanding of you right now. For a baseball pitcher, maybe they've gotten themselves into a jam and the count is 3 balls and no strikes, and they feel their frustration growing. After receiving the ball back from the catcher, we have them simply walk around the mound, put their hands behind their back to snap the rubber band on the wrist, repeat the 2 quick statements, cancel that thought, I am free, and they're ready for their next delivery of the pitch. It doesn't matter what the sport is or what the challenge or frustration is. One of the things we know in working with athletes is keeping completely focused, or as much as possible, keeping our minds focused when things aren't going our way is one of the most crucial techniques that all superstars, all elite athletes must learn in one way or another so they continue to climb the ladder of success. Cognitive behavioral therapy, known as CBT, is something that I would recommend everyone learn how to do. And there's actually a company that I've become friends with that creates cognitive behavioral therapy bands instead of using a simple rubber band that can snap after a few pulls. If you simply visit hunabands.com, you can get some bands that were specifically designed and made for cognitive behavioral therapy. Huna Bands, HUNABANDS.com. HunaBands.com is where you need to go to get these specially designed bands for cognitive behavioral therapy. Until you're able to order some of these bands, just grab a couple thick rubber bands, or several of them will work with fine. But once you get the thicker Huna bands, they will last much longer on the wrist. We had athletes use cognitive behavioral therapy when they felt they were getting the raw end of the deal from referees or umpires of their sport during a match. Their frustration continued to grow and get higher, which obviously messed up their complete focus on what they should be doing with the task at hand. But then, once again, with this very quick 3 to 6 second cognitive behavioral therapy exercise, we've got their mindsets back into the game, which leads them to higher levels of success every time they're participating in their sport of choice. For mental toughness, we teach something that I created in 1996 called, quote, the one thing theory of goal achievement, end quote, which helps people stay incredibly focused in both their sport and in their personal life at the same time. The book that we explain this process in great detail, is called, quote, Focus, Slay Your Goals, end quote, which was selected by the organization bookauthority.org as one of the top 100 books ever written in the world of goal achievement. It definitely was one of the greatest honors we've ever received in my literary career. And they placed us right next to the famous Dale Carnegie, who is revered as as one of the fathers of the personal growth movement. This, of course, made us extremely happy knowing that our work is going down in history. And in my personal work with professional athletes, we will drill down into the one thing theory so that you can achieve that level of mental toughness that goes beyond possibly anything you've imagined today. And what is the one thing theory that we created in 1996? It's very simple, but more profound than one might believe. Quote, the one thing theory states that at any given time in life, there's only one goal to go after. It's the one we've denied, delayed, procrastinated working on. It's the one goal that we don't want to do. It's the one habit we really don't want to let go of, even if it could bring great reliefs if we did. The one thing theory states that when we do go after this one goal that we've delayed or procrastinated on, with daily action steps that maybe only a couple minutes a day or longer, every other area of your game, every other area of our lives begin to improve as well. Maybe your, quote, one thing, end quote, is in the world of letting challenges go, letting defeat go more quickly than you are right now. Well, you can already see the benefit of that. If we're able to move through challenges mentally and emotionally more quickly, we diminish the chance that we carry emotional baggage forward. Powerful. Maybe your one thing is an addiction to pot or alcohol or spending, gambling. Maybe your one thing is getting rid of the video games or the social media we're spending way too much time on. So we get rid of that one thing that probably is taking up more time in our day or a week than we even know. And all of a sudden, we have extra free time. We have free mental space that we can put towards improving our life versus numbing out or just escaping with mindless activities. Or maybe your one thing is your inability to hit a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. So you master that and it improves your confidence in every area of your game. Or maybe your one thing is playing on clay court as a tennis star, that you've mastered every other surface except clay. And then you decide to put a certain amount of time or weeks or months in the mastering of your play on clay courts, and all of a sudden your whole existence goes to a much higher level. Or maybe your one thing is extremely personal. Maybe you've been in a relationship that has been filled with chaos and drama for a number of years, but you've never taken the time to get the help necessary to see if you can turn the relationship around. But then once you do, and you have calmness at home, calmness on the road with your relationship, well, as you can imagine, everything in life will improve right away. If you remember the incredible story of the basketball star Bob Love, who struggled with stuttering his whole life, which made him incredibly insecure when trying to be interviewed after basketball games. He overcame his stuttering after his NBA days were over and was actually awarded by the White House for his work with younger individuals who struggle with challenges such as stuttering. A beautiful story and a beautiful end result for an elite athlete. I always honor Bob Love as one of the most profound teachers that the NBA has ever had when he came out and admitted that his stuttering had profoundly a negative effect on his entire life. Thank God when he was on the court, he was able to shine like the star he truly is. So whether your one thing is sport related or your one thing is something that's related to personal relationships or your own habits, let's attack that one thing today. Now, there will always be another new one thing, but as we go after the biggest ones first, we see the greatest improvement in every area of your life. I guarantee it. With mental toughness, we also teach something called emotional regulation, which is a fancy term for your ability to handle your emotional response to any stressful situation you're put in during your game, your match, or something that might happen outside of the world of your given sport. Emotional regulation is crucial. And you will see players in all sports who are highly emotional regulated. And then you'll see those players that have almost zero emotional regulation at all. When you understand and are trained in the power of emotional regulation, and you're in a game and the official makes a bad call, and you know it's a bad call, and the stadium knows it's a bad call, those athletes with emotional regulation may look at the referee with their hands up in the air and a shrug in their shoulder, making an impression like, quote, "Are you sure about that call?" End quote. And then instantly they are back 100% focused on the match. This is an emotionally regulated athlete. The unregulated emotional athlete is the one that will stand and argue with the referee while the game proceeds forward. Unfortunately, as a massive basketball fan, I saw this happening constantly in the recent NBA playoffs, where they would actually freeze a frame of the game during a commercial break. When we went back to the studio, they would show two or three of the stars of that team in the backcourt arguing with the referee while the game and the ball had already proceeded past the half court line, meaning that their team was now underprepared defensively to handle the offensive onslaught that was about to occur from the other team. I think baseball has one of the strictest rules in regard to arguing with umpires, and the strict rules in my belief system could benefit other sports greatly as well. There's no fan out there that wants to see their star players arguing with referees as the game is proceeding. When you are taught your powerful emotional ratio skills, I promise you it will have the greatest impact on your confidence, your self esteem, the way you play the game, and it might even have an impact on the length of your stay in your chosen sport. It is that important, it is that serious to learn. Even with high levels of emotional regulation, it doesn't mean we never get frustrated or pissed off or extremely mad when it's at someone from your own team or a referee or someone from the other team as well. Ram Dass, an amazing spiritual mentor of mine who passed away a couple of years ago in the 1980s, taught me the real meaning with a great example of what emotional regulation is and how it can positively affect your life. The example he gave me was this, quote, "David, imagine there's two drivers going to an airport in the same city. They leave their home 3 hours early so they can get to the airport and they'll have 2 hours to relax, not rush around, and make their flight. Now, these drivers do not know each other. They're traveling on different roads initially. But then, when they get a few miles from the airport, there's a report on the radio of a serious accident with a 3-hour traffic delay imposed. The individual that lacks emotional regulation will smash the dashboard, scream out a bunch of profanities, then get on his or her phone and call everyone they know to let them know how pissed off they are, how unfair this is, the first time they get to the airport early, and look at what happens. They become victims with unrestrained frustration, which leads us nowhere. Now, let's look at the response of the emotionally regulated individual that just found out they're going to miss their flight as well. Believe it or not, the first move is the same. The driver smashes the dashboard, screams out a few profanities, and then gets on the phone proactively and immediately changes their flight. Then they make a call to the business that they were going to speak to, explaining that they won't make it in that day, but they will make it early the next day. And then they call their partner or friends. And while they're stuck in traffic, decide to find out how things are going on in other people's world. Or they might just put on relaxing music, or they might listen to a book on tape. The emotionally regulated person has the initial burst of frustration, but then they know how to regulate their emotional response system. This emotional regulation is also crucial for any time during a game or match where it is completely up to you to dictate the ending of the game. Athletes with high levels of emotional regulation may at times also be extremely upset with what they perceive as a bad call. And we teach them how to express that frustration without getting them into trouble. Then we add techniques to help them redirect their focus to get back into the present moment, letting that bad call that happened a few seconds ago or a few minutes immediately be released from their mindset. Powerful. Individuals with high levels of confidence and high levels of emotion regulation will go into that final minute of the game or 2 minutes of the game knowing that the end result may rest on their shoulders. And they've been mentally and physically prepared for this by following through with all the activities we are giving in this book, combined with what you've learned on your pathway to success as a professional athlete. I was personally in this situation a number of years ago. At the end of a game with seconds remaining, I was fouled as I went up for a jump shot. Time expired and the game was tied. The stands were full. The officials asked all the players to go to their respective benches, and I went to the free throw line with no one else on the court. 2 shots ahead. If I made only one, we lost the game. And if I made both, we would go into overtime. I had rehearsed this situation 1,000 times in my life. I had put myself on the free throw line with no time remaining, and the full responsibility of going into overtime or possibly winning the game was on my shoulders. I was prepared. I knew exactly what I needed to do mentally and physically. I slowly walked to the free throw line, held my hand up to the official as a wait sign, got my feet set, took a big breath, and received the ball. I went through my own mental and physical ritual of bouncing the ball 3 times, shifting my body back and forth, then looking up and staring at the very front of the rim, knowing that all I had to do was get the ball up over the front of the rim and it would go in. The first shot, score. The final free throw that would send us into overtime, score. Because we were doing it in front of our home fans, of course, they erupted in joy. It was an amazing feeling. And even though we went on to lose the game in overtime, I realized right there that I had found a key to success under pressure in sports called emotional regulation. Anyone can learn this. It doesn't matter if you're a field goal kicker that has struggled under pressure, a golfer that has struggled under pressure, a baseball pitcher that is struggling under pressure. Emotional regulation has no boundaries. It's one of the most powerful techniques to learn for any sport, and it will set you free from anxiety and lower levels of confidence faster than anything you can ever imagine doing. Number 2, to reach high levels of peak performance, this section may seem a little unusual or even strange, but with my working with athletes and executive professionals for 43 years, I can tell you that is a driving force in helping many people as they evolve as human beings and professional athletes at the same time. And what am I talking about? Involvement in activities that will expand your mind. Too many times we get hung up with our off playing day activities, with mindless games that offer no real benefit to our future advancement in your sport or life. So we recommend that individuals take time to dive into deep philosophical or spiritual work that can broaden your perspective on life. A great book by Marcus Aurelius called Meditations will give you so much information about what it means to be a true leader, a leader with heart, a leader with extreme discipline, but also a leader who is highly emotionally regulated. Marcus Aurelius still has much to teach this world. Or maybe it's the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins that will teach you about how to reach higher levels of human consciousness during and after your playing days. Power versus Force is one of my favorite books because it easily breaks down where we are in life from a belief system perspective and what changes we need to make to be more humble, to be more in service, filled with more love, peace, understanding, and even mentorship. Quote, Man's Search for Meaning, end quote, by Viktor Frankl is one of the most important books for everyone to read. For those who want to take time to deepen their spiritual path, check out the book Science of Mind by Ernest Holm. And for those that want to go purely into the world of motivation, you must grab Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. Spoiler alert, his book title is a misnomer in many ways, but the stories in the book are absolutely phenomenal because richness can come in many different ways. Richness isn't always just about money, even though money is a huge part of this book. The book is filled with incredible and inspirational stories of people that have created huge success, great success in life by overcoming immense challenges. Or maybe you want to read a book by Wallace Wattles on motivation, or Buddha on the cause of suffering and the solution to life suffering. I could go on and on. There are millions of different ways to expand our mind that you can take these principles you're learning and bring them right onto the court or the field or the ice that your professional athletic career depends on. Phil Jackson, the great former NBA coach, was phenomenal in his approach to bring deep philosophical training into his basketball teachings, and it worked. And never forget that we become what we read. We become what we listen to. We become what we watch. And also, so importantly, we become who we hang out with. That's why I'm putting this section in the book. I want you to maximize your full life potential, which will have the most powerful effect on your athletic career at the same time. Life balance. While it's impossible to be completely balanced, is one of the reasons I'm bringing these points up right now. It's just like volunteering in your community and expanding your mind. It allows you to give back. It allows you to be the true professional athlete that you are, knowing that you're a role model and people are looking up to you for guidance. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you write, everything you tweet, everything you put on social media can have an effect not only on your career, but on the millions and millions of people that look up to you as a leader. Be that leader. Number 3. It's time to create your sizzle reel. Now, this has been around forever, and I love it, love it, love it, and I use it with everyone. I've done this with so many athletes, and every one of them have benefited immediately and immensely from this exercise. I did it recently with a major league pitcher and asked him to send me some of the photos of him at his highest, most intense state of mind. And the pictures were mind blowing and inspirational, even for me. After he did the exercise, he commented how important it was for him to see himself playing at his highest level ever. Because at the time that we were working on his internal motivation, some mental challenges, and this was the starting point of him seeing pictures of himself when he played at the highest level possible. Now we're going to take a step further, and here's your exercise. First, create a 4-minute sizzle reel. One of your team video editors can do this for you effortlessly and have your most powerful matches, games, contests to view, just 4 minutes long. There should be a potpourri of examples, no more than 4 minutes, playing at your highest, your strongest, your best. Watch this every morning. Take notes. Get into your own head. See your stardom. See your strengths. Open your mind to the magnificence that you are. If you're young in the league or you're young as a professional athlete, go back to your college days and do the same thing there with a sizzle reel, showing your immense capabilities, your powerful athletic skills, your immense brain power that comes out in the way you handle the game, stress, and more. Number 4, a different type of sizzle reel. Now, after creating a sizzle reel of your highlights for 4 minutes, the next move to get real deep and honest with yourself is to have your team create a sizzle reel of your worst moments, a sizzle reel of 4 minutes showing where your weaknesses are, what you need to improve upon. There's nothing more powerful than to see in live action on video those games that you weren't at your best. The coaches can tell you that you weren't at your best. Teammates may or may not tell you the truth. You may know that you actually made moves or you attempted in your sport to do something that was inappropriate at that time. And I want you to see it. I want you to accept it. Many athletes, because they don't want to be vulnerable, will refuse to do this exercise, which is so sad because it offers the gateway, the doorway for you to go to a much higher level of activity in your professional sport. Your strengths, as I've mentioned before, are not your issues. Of course, you're going to continue to strengthen your strengths, but the real issues are the mental lapses or the lack of defensive strength or the lack of offensive skills. Wherever you find in that 4 minute sizzle reel that shows you need improvement, embrace it, learn from it. Take notes from both sides of these sizzle reels so that you have notes of when you're playing at your best and you also have notes of the changes you need to make. The next step, get help with those changes. Whether it's from a coach, a trainer, or a sports psychology coach like myself, reach out. Set a game plan, set up a program with daily rituals where you are forced to meet head on with those mental or physical challenges in order to turn them around so that you can become the most complete athletic competitor you ever imagined you can be. Number 5, self care for professional athletes. I will keep this section short as most athletes know the crucial importance of self care in order to maximize your current performance and to extend your career. Let's start with proper sleep, one of the most important components in life. Good sleep will allow you to continue to grow as an athlete and play as long as possible. During sleep, we get a chance to recharge the body, rebuild the muscles, reprogram the mind, even. Yet with insufficient sleep, all of those things I just mentioned could be harmed dramatically. There are products available today that monitor your sleep cycles. Let's get serious. Let's go next to diet. I've read so many articles about athletes making major changes in their diet, which allows them to have more focus, more energy, more strength during their matches, and also a shorter recovery time from some injuries and overuse of muscles. One of my athletes, who had from youth depended upon convenience foods, even though making millions and millions of dollars every year, hired this incredible nutritionist and completely changed their diet, which now includes a variety of salads, 100 times more vegetables than they've ever eaten in their life, lean protein with every meal, and the brain fog that they would get from exhaustion disappeared. The recovery time from one match to the next was cut by more than 50%. They felt more alive, focused, energetic, all from changing the diet. Or how about tennis star Novak Djokovic, who adopted a vegan diet, which literally saved his life and greatly improved his game? In the newsletter, quote, hello, end quote, he goes on to state that his strict gluten and dairy free diet as credit for taking him from, quote, the brink of failure to the champion of the world, end quote. That is one of the most powerful statements that you'll ever read from any professional athlete about the importance of eating an extremely clean diet to get the most out of your mental and physical capabilities. You can check out his personal meal plans that could very much help you with your career as well in his book, quote, Serve to Win, end quote. He has stated in many articles his love of nature and his belief that being in nature contributes to his ability to be one of the most elite athletes the world has ever seen. From his own social media posts, he shares this about the importance of being in touch with nature. Quote, bare feet on the grass comfort the spirit and connects the body to the earth all at once. It's always the right time to do it. For tennis players, particularly after a practice or a match, grounding yourselves is super important. End quote. Meditation at sunrise, followed by yoga, followed by being in nature with his entire family. Yes, that also includes hugging trees. He has one of the most disciplined yet well-rounded programs I've ever seen in my working with professional athletes. I think we could all benefit by following his advice. Cleaning up our diet as professional athletes will have an incredible impact on so many different areas of your life. And one of the most important ones is our mood, believe it or not. Since 60 to 70% of our serotonin, a powerful neurotransmitter that boosts our mood, is in the gut, we need to make sure we're eating clean or we can suffer from mood disorders and not even know it's due to our diet. Many athletes we recommend to begin with a clean diet and then to add probiotics and digestive enzymes to make sure that the intestinal tract is operating at its highest level possible. We need to make sure that we are balancing the healthy bacteria with the unhealthy bacteria in the intestinal tract so that these mood changes or mood shifts become a thing of the past. We have had athletes complaining about brain fog, irritability, impatience, lack of focus. And they've all seen that this completely changes once they switch to an incredibly clean diet with the aforementioned use of probiotics and digestive enzymes. And we go to the phenomenon called LeBron James. From high school into the NBA, there was no time for growing up or maturing. He had to already have been mature to make the leap that he did. And he did such an incredible job as a star for the past 20 years. But what does he do, similar to Novak, regarding self care and his diet to be able to perform at the highest level that he has for so long? In an interview reported in the blog, quote, balance the grind, end quote, LeBron talks about sleeping a minimal of 8 or 9 hours a night, but he also includes naps during the day, which he says usually will add up to about 12 hours of sleeping every day. He believes that this is a huge help with his recovery from the punishment his body goes through on a daily basis. Also, eating an extremely clean diet and adding daily meditation is part of LeBron's secret to his long term success. His personal trainer also admits that he eats extremely clean with a chocolate chip cookie every once in a while as his cheat treat. LeBron, like Novak, is also engaged in meditation yoga, personal training sessions, and also does Pilates as a way to keep his body incredibly flexible and also to help in recovery. Rumor has it that he spends approximately $1.5 million on his body every year, and the payback is seen in his incredible longevity and performance over these past 20 years. You may or may not have $1.5 million to spend every year on your personal self care. But the point is, whatever you can afford, go there now. Hire the personal experts. Get involved with an extremely clean diet, a very solid and deep sleep routine, and everything else these two incredible athletes shared above. And you will be on your way to maximizing your potential and possibly extending your professional career as well. Then we move onto water. Athletes know the importance of this. Due to their extreme output of physical exercise, consuming up to 2 gallons of purified water every day is highly recommended for most athletes, and some may even need more. And then we have the regular need for massage therapy, cryotherapy, and more different ways to help the body heal, recover, and stay at its strongest ever. I've mentioned different parts of self care throughout this whole book. So no matter what chapter you're reading, there will be commentary on self care. It's that important. When I think of self care, I also think about off season self care, meaning athletes taking the off season very seriously to improve their game. I remember a story about Phoenix Suns all star guard Devin Booker, who, when he was a rookie, reached out to Kobe Bryant and asked him if he could train with him over the summer. This is the ultimate in self care. It takes an open, vulnerable person to reach out to someone they admire, someone with more experience, and ask them to be a part of their conditioning program. The concept of self care goes extremely deep in my practice, and I believe it's one of the reasons my clients, both elite athletes and executives and more, continue to see improvement in their lives on a daily basis. I want now to share the crucial addition of both morning and evening rituals to maximize your mental health, physical health, and athletic abilities. Morning rituals. We ask all of our clients to begin the first 10 to 20 minutes of every day, and we will extend this as we work together to be completely electronic free. So the alarm goes off, and while most of us roll over to the side of our bed and grab our iPhone, we are not going to do that anymore. So for the first 10 to 20 minutes of every day when the athlete gets up, it's all about mental preparation for the day. With some athletes, we start out with journaling. their intention of the day, what they did well the day before, and what they want to do better today. With other athletes, we may have them start out with deep breathing or meditation exercises. With other athletes, we may start them off with reading from deep philosophical books and then have them apply the deep philosophy from some of the greatest leaders the world has ever seen into their daily life as well as into their sports practices. Other athletes may begin their day with short exercises in yoga or other stretching exercises to get the mind and body moving simultaneously. Now, these are just a few of the thousands of morning rituals that we teach our clients so they can start their day with a fresh mind, a motivated mind, and inspired mind. We need to break the habits that many of us currently have right now of immediately looking at our phones or tablets, turning on the news or even music. How you start your day is one of the most crucial parts of anyone's program when they're looking to maximize their athletic and mental potential and power. Next, evening rituals. The way we end the day in our approach is identical to the importance of how we start each day. A recent survey said approximately 75% of Americans between the ages of 14 and 80 scroll on their phones or tablet every evening from 2 to 4 hours. Unless you're scrolling for something specific to improve your mind, body, or sports performance, this can be deleterious to our sleep as well as other areas of life. We know this much exposure to any tablet, phone, or even television set can greatly disturb our sleep cycles, throwing our sleep rhythms completely off. So in the evening, we have our athletes shutting down electronics well before bedtime to give the brain and the body an opportunity to detox from the day. Again, some of the option of evening rituals could be meditation, prayer, once again, reading philosophical or inspirational books, or it may also include doing stretching exercises, especially if individuals are in some form of rehab. The evening exercise could also include writing down what went well for you that day. Maybe you put extra time in practicing a part of your game that needs improvement. For the evening rituals, we want to make sure that there isn't anything that we are watching or reading or listening to that creates any form of excitement in the brain. That's the opposite of what we want right now. The evening is a time to bring energy, mental and physical, down. It's the time to detox our mind from all the craziness of the world. No news ever. It could be the time to put into your relationship. Simple conversations about love and connection and communication could be a great time to do in the evening before bed. But we highly advise our athletes to stay away from any confrontational discussions in the evening. We can table them even with a loved one to the next day. The evening rituals are all about a pattern of self care. And for many of us, this can be a very challenging thing to do. In just a moment, I'm going to share information about the difference between the conscious and subconscious mind, which will make everything we're talking about go deeper into your psyche and make much more sense. Maybe listening to extremely mellow music or maybe even practicing a musical instrument of your own might be something beautiful to do as a normal part of your evening rituals. We're trying to slow down, calm the mind, calm the body. As we know, sleep is crucial for the ultimate in both mental and physical performance. Every client we work with eventually comes to love both these morning and evening rituals, and I know you will as well. This is imperative. Now we are going to look at something that is so incredibly important in the world of self care that very few people ever think about. What is the difference between the conscious and subconscious mind, and why is it so important to know the different roles they may play? The conscious mind is a mind of intent. You decide to pick up this book or listen to this audio, and you have a plan that you're going to go through 2 chapters a day, and you do. That would be an example of the conscious mind. It's the planner, it's the organizer, it's the goal setter. But that's not the only part of the mind that needs our attention. The subconscious mind is crucial to understand how it works and why it works and how to change it. The subconscious mind is below consciousness, which means you cannot access it via your thoughts. Interesting, isn't it? The subconscious mind can either be an ally or a saboteur. When you want to improve any part of your game and your conscious mind is in complete control, and you've said to yourself the first thing you're going to do every day is weight training to improve your game, or practicing a return to serve, or practicing free throws, practicing improvement in your field goal percentage in football. You actually go and do these things right away. Pure conscious action. If the conscious mind has set a goal that said at 7 a.m. you'll be in the gym practicing free throws, and every day you set that intention, you get up early enough to be at the gym at 7 a.m., that's a great example of the power of the conscious mind. However, listen up. If you set a goal of being at the gym at 7 and 6:30 a.m. comes along and you hit the snooze button and 7:30 comes along and you get out of bed and you're at the gym at 10, is that actually the working of the conscious mind? And the answer is hell no. No, that shows how the subconscious mind can be a saboteur in your goals. If the conscious mind says, I'm at the gym at 7, but you don't follow through, that's because the subconscious mind has taken over and has come up with some type of justification, rationalization, or denial that you actually need to be in the gym at 7. The subconscious mind might be saying something like this, quote, you deserve the extra rest today. The last 5 days have been very tough on you. Let's just wait till around 10. We're not going to hurt anyone by being a couple hours late. Or, quote, what's the difference between training at 7 a.m. or 10 a.m.? It's still the same ball. It's still the same court. Relax and get there when it's comfortable for you. These would be examples of justification or rationalization coming from the subconscious mind that's in direct competition with the goal of being at the gym at 7 a.m. So we teach people the difference between the conscious and subconscious mind, and then through a variety of very efficient, very powerful tools, we show each and every athlete how they can turn their subconscious mind into an ally. The end result, when the conscious mind says you're going to be at the gym at 7 a.m., you're at the gym at 7 a.m. every day. This is proof that we've married the intent of the conscious mind with the action carried out through the subconscious mind as well. It is a marrying of both conscious and subconscious mind, which will lead you to the highest levels of personal and professional success available for you today. And paying attention to your conscious intent, what you actually do in life, is crucial if you want to bring your game to the highest level possible. If you say to yourself or others that you're going to go on a very clean diet to increase recovery time, increase sleep, to increase energy levels, but then when you go and you're hungry because you haven't planned enough during the day and eat junk food, fast food, or convenience food, a perfect example of how the subconscious mind is sabotaging your new goals. But remember, the subconscious mind is only following the patterns that you and I have fed it for years. Working with athletes that are addicted to sugar, trying to convince them that getting off sugar is going to add so much more life to their game as well as their health and how they feel about themselves can be a very challenging thing to do, since they probably had this habit for anywhere from 10 or 20 years or maybe longer. Since we are the ones that are consuming the high amounts of sugar, we can't blame anyone else. It's not our parents' fault. It's not our friends' fault. We are making that choice. Now, the benefits of radically changing your diet will be extremely powerful for both your mind and body, but we've got to get both the conscious and subconscious mind married on the same pathway in order for this lifestyle change to happen and to stick. Changing habits that we've had for a long time can be difficult, but the benefits, the end result, can be immeasurable in regards to your proficiency as an elite athlete, as well as the length of your career. We need to get to know these principles that are carried in both the subconscious and conscious mind, as well as other therapeutic techniques that we teach, in order to have every elite athlete continue to improve, to grow, to be more successful, and on top of it all, to be happier with themselves in life. And speaking of mindset, we need to stay open minded throughout our full athletic careers on both the conscious and subconscious mind. Let me give you a great example of how crucial it is to be open minded to improve your game. If you're a professional basketball player and you struggle at the free throw line, is your conscious mind open enough where you are willing to do whatever it takes to improve your free throw percentage? If it meant shooting 200 free throws a day with an expert, would you be willing to do that? Is your conscious mind so open minded that if every attempt you've made up to this day failed in regards to improving your free throw percentage, would you be willing to try the technique that Rick Barry of the Golden State Warriors made famous probably 30 or 40 years ago? Do you remember how proficient he was at the free throw line? Do you remember that he shot his free throws underhanded? Let me repeat that. A great free throw shooter in the NBA, Rook Harry, Rick Barry, shooting underhand free throws at the professional level. While people were laughing in front of him and behind his back, he was simply sinking one free throw after another. If you understand the power of this example, you understand how important it is for you to have a complete open, and I mean completely open mind in regard to what's going on to bring your game and your life to the next level. Never discount Rick Barry in the way he shot free throws. Never discount anyone else who does things slightly differently but is really successful in life. These are the teachers to follow, the open minded ones, the ones that really don't care what other people think if what they're doing is improving their game. They have enough high self confidence and self esteem to let all the comments behind their back go. I will help you get to this level if you're not there already, because it's a beautiful place to live. Number 6, pregame and postgame rituals. I remember in so many of my incredible conversations with NFL All Pro linebacker Keith Mitchell talking about his pregame ritual, which included listening to the song by Phil Collins, quote, "Into the Air Tonight." He told me that he would time the song so when the massive drum roll happened, he was up, jumping, and ready to run through the tunnel onto the field of the game he loved so much. I've had other athletes that part of their pregame ritual is meditation to calm the brain, calm the nerves. Of course, the pregame meal is crucial, and we make sure our athletes are fueled accordingly several hours prior to the event so they have the energy necessary to stay focused and at the top of their game throughout their entire experience that day. Other athletes we have recommended as part of their pregame ritual to reach out to a loved one or a mentor, someone they feel safe with and comfortable with, to talk to them about their plans for the game, what their strategy is, and how they're going to handle the opponents. It doesn't matter what your pregame ritual is, listening to music, talking to a family member or mentor, meditation, all of these techniques, plus anything that personally resonates with you, should become an important part of your athletic career. Now, for post game rituals, we do it a little differently. We ask our athletes to actually journal at the end of every match or game in two different categories. Category one, what were the 4 to 6 things I did today during my match that I'm extremely proud of, that I'm happy with, that I'm fulfilled with? This simple exercise will only take a couple minutes at the end of every match, but it's done to boost our confidence and self esteem. I then take my athletes through the exercise of reading their journals through the season so that I can hold them accountable and make sure that they are patting themselves on the back for the things that they're doing well during the matches. And then the second part of this post game ritual is just important. We have our athletes write down the 4 to 6 challenges they faced during that game, mental mistakes made, physical errors made, so that we can take a look and see if these mental errors or physical mistakes become a pattern in their current year of play. It is through these written exercises that I'm able to show my athletes the negative patterns or the mental lapses that are current, and we can instantly start to begin to integrate solutions for these challenges. We explain the power of this journaling technique, and we give space for people to journal after every athletic event in our book, quote, The Ultimate Gratitude Journal, 52 Weeks to a New You, which is available at Amazon.com. The book explains the complete process, offers you opportunities to write directly in the book, or you can just take the advice I've given above with a legal pad and create your own journal. However you do it, make sure you do it. These 2 points are crucial to where you are now as where you'd like to be in the future. Number 7, high-level visualization for professional athletes. I thought after being an athlete and going for my master's degree in sports psychology that it would be enough for me to understand the power of visualization and how to do it correctly. I had been visualizing since I was a little child, beginning at the age of 6, seeing myself playing next to Earl the Pearl Monroe, watching myself score the winning bucket in the NBA championship that year, just like all little kids who are mesmerized by sports. I have been using visualization from a very young age. When I began my professional career working with athletes and executives, I carried over the power of visualization of my teachings to these individuals as well. But I didn't realize there was one missing ingredient to the way I taught visualization until I met one of the most amazing sports psychologists ever, Dr. Dennis Waitley. during a series of interviews where he shared with me his work with Olympic athletes as well as astronauts. We went into great detail about the power of visualization, not only for my life, but for my clients and athletes that I work with on a daily basis. He is simply brilliant. And the missing link that he taught me that I had never thought about when using the power of visualization on a daily basis until I met him: emotion, full blown emotion, high level emotion. He taught me that visualization on its own, seeing ourselves in our minds winning a championship or scoring the winning point, wasn't enough anymore. We needed to add high level emotions to our mental images to make them even more powerful as we move forward in life. And he was right. So now, as you read this book and you do your own visualization, I hope on a daily basis, like we teach our athletes to do, you'll start using that powerful feeling of emotion while seeing yourself playing at the highest level possible. Watch yourself score and feel the emotion of satisfaction for your years and years of work. Watch yourself on defense and consistently shutting down your opponent. Feel the emotional component of joy in knowing that you're maximizing your potential in life daily, every day, not just game day. We have athletes doing this on a daily basis to lock it in as a normal ritual in their pursuit of excellence in their sport. I was surprised one year when I went to Salt Lake City to speak at a conference, and as I waited backstage to walk out in front of the 5,000 people sitting there, a woman came up to me and said, quote, "David, I hope you don't mind, but Dr. Dennis Waitley, one of our speakers at the conference, would love to introduce you," end quote. Oh my Lord, are you kidding me? One of my idols in the world of sports psychology, one of the most influential mentors I've ever learned from in the world of sports psychology, wanted to introduce me to the 5,000 people in the crowd. Incredible. I'm still so grateful for the fact that he wanted to introduce me, a youngster at that time in the world of athletics and professional speaking, and it turned out to be an incredibly joyful event. Some athletes love the idea of creating vision boards, photos of themselves performing perfectly, or photos of their mentors or other athletes that they've looked up to performing effortlessly as a way to keep them inspired on a daily basis. I encourage anyone who has a ritual that is positive in nature, regardless of what anyone else says, to follow your own heart, follow your own mind. And if it works for you, keep doing it. And I have the same approach to affirmations. I believe that affirmations combined, as Dr. Whiteley has said, with extreme emotion, spoken out loud, written on paper, as long as they're done on a regular basis, can have a great and positive impact on your athletic abilities and your success in life. But I don't believe in the hype of affirmations that we're just saying words without emotions. Once again, utilizing high level emotions while you're reading or writing or saying your affirmations is a way to keep your mind operating at the highest level possible. The great organization HeartMath.org has done so many studies using MRI imaging on individuals who are repeating a series of affirmations. And what they found was those individuals, when they repeated the affirmations with high level emotion, their brain would light up in positive activity. Breaking this down, it means that the positive endorphins like dopamine and serotonin were being released at very high levels when individuals were repeating affirmations with deep emotion. Take all of this information and use it today. It will be worth it. Think about a few of these ideas as we end this chapter. Do more every day than you're asked to do. Be open minded to teachings from the outside world that you may have not experienced before. Whether we're talking about psychological teachings or physical teachings, stay incredibly open minded. You'll never know when something is recommended that you believe would never help you might just be the key to take you to the next level. That's being a leader. Leaders are coachable, leaders are teachable, and leaders also lead. Do you understand what I just wrote above? Being a leader doesn't mean that they're always in front of the line telling other people what to do, but you can be in front of the line showing other people what to do by becoming humble, vulnerable, and asking for help when it's needed, whether it's in the world of mental health, physical health, relationships, or has something to do with your athletic sport of choice. Find a leader to follow. Become a leader. It is a quest, worth going after. End of chapter questions. Now, as I read this question, if you have a moment, put this on pause and write your answer. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number three, what are the specific action steps you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Pause as you write these answers. Chapter 6, how our work in sports psychology can help you in every area of life. In my earlier days, my work with professional athletes was usually focused on and limited to helping them overcome weaknesses regardless of their sport of choice. And to this day, it's one of the most exciting things for me to be involved with to help a baseball hitter learn our focusing techniques so that they can move past the potential weakness of not being able to consistently hit sliders thrown by pitchers, or a basketball player that struggles at the free throw line. By following our focusing techniques and tools, it's so exciting to see them improve in that area of the game, so much so that they now consider themselves as complete athletes. Or in tennis, it could be helping an athlete, a story I mentioned earlier in the book, learn how to control their emotions to such a high degree that no matter where they stand in the match, their mindset is focused on one thing: winning. Or in professional football, when an individual that was used to being the star of the team due to aging or injuries is now asked to be a reserve, to come off the bench in time of need. And they struggle from a small ego perspective with accepting this diminishing role in their sport. Any and all of the above are areas that we absolutely love to help athletes overcome. And it's only a matter of time in our work that these athletes see the potential of how they can change, how they can grow, to release any weaknesses or limitations that may have held them back in the past. But because we look as an athlete from every angle, not just their athletic endeavors, not just their mental health, but also their relationships, their friendships, we are able to help them in every area of life rise to the occasion to become a better man or a better woman. Below, I'm going to put a long list of different areas of life that we help our professional athletes with off the field. We spend quite a bit of time talking about how we help athletes on the field or during matches. So let's take a look at other ways that we help athletes maximize both their life in sports and their life in general. Number one, motivation and inspiration. Every game is a playoff game. Number two, improving weaknesses, as we talk about so many times, both mentally and physically, to eliminate challenges that may be holding you back from reaching the highest level in your sport of choice. Anxiety, finding the origin of this issue and the solution. Depression, finding the origin of this issue and then the solution. ADD, we're going to go down the same pathway. We find the origin and then the solution. ADHD, same thing. Find the origin, find the solution. Family relationship challenges. Where did these begin? When did they begin? And what's the solution? Partner relationship challenges. Finding the origin of when the struggle with your partner began and how we can solve it. Relationship challenges with children. Once again, when did they start? How did they start? And how do we heal them? Future business planning. Finding the origin. Have you even thought about it yet? And then the solution. When are you going to act? Attitude adjustment. Finding where we see that drop in attitude and then how do we solve it? Emotional regulation techniques. This is a favorite. Learning how to deal with every emotion in life through emotional regulation. Nutrition and diet. Finding the origin of those foods we may need to remove from our diet. And then what are we going to add? Sleep. Oh, you know this is huge. We can use those different programs available today to find the origin of our sleep challenges and then once again, the solution. focus both on and off the court. If we're losing focus in the game, we'll find out the reason, the origin, and how to fix it. If we're losing focus with our business outside of our sport or our relationships, once again, when did the issue start? And now let's find that solution. Grief recovery. This is huge. This might be dealing with the grief of being traded, demoted, or forced to retire. But we also help athletes deal with the grief of losing loved ones, just like I did in the last 2 years, losing both my mother and my father. It was a very difficult experience. As an athlete, especially if something like this happens during your season, you need someone by your side to help you move through these difficult experiences. Grief can also be related to losing a pet or our best friend or a relationship and so many other things that happen in life unexpectedly that we may not know how to deal with. Forgiveness of those who may have mistreated us or hurt us in the past. Teaching professional athletes the power of giving back to their community. So many of you do this already, and there's so many more that we can get involved once we start working together. Deepening one's spiritual path that several athletes have asked for help with in order to live in their mind a calmer, more focused existence. Meditation and relaxation techniques. Oh my Lord, these are crucial for every athlete, regardless of what your beliefs are about relaxation techniques, regardless of your sport. Really crucial to learn. Addictions to alcohol, pot, video games, betting, sex, pornography, spending, and so much more. We help athletes find, once again, the origin of these addictions, and then we add the solution. Supplementation for mental health challenges. With so many elite athletes, as proven in the study done by the American College of Sports Medicine, struggling with mental health issues, eating disorders, addictions, etc., we are very happy to let our athletes know that there are over-the-counter supplements that, with the approval of their team physician, can dramatically help any type of mental health issues. We have to be very conscious that we are not using any banned substances. So we go to the World Anti-Doping Agency that was placed amino acids under the category of, quote, legal, not banned for competition, and may have positive effects on athletic performance, end quote. Now that's directly from the World Anti-Doping Agency. If by any chance we talk about substances before you put one in your mouth, make sure with your team, with your league, that they're allowed. As they report, substances such as protein powder, amino acids, caffeine, and creatine are included in this report, as studies have shown these products to be relatively safe as long as they are used properly. Before I go any further, I must mention this because this is crucial for your confidence in me, your faith in me, and my faith and confidence in you. Make sure that you talk to your team officials, the team doctor, to ensure that it is okay to utilize any substance that you might think could have a positive effect on your performance. We don't want to jeopardize your career or your income by making a mistake and assuming that these supplements are okay. You've got to check with your team and your league first. Crucially important. It's amazing the powerful effect amino acids have had with all of my clients. I started recommending them in 1990 after working with several people like Dr. Stan Meyerson, who at that time was looked at as one of the leading experts in the world of amino acid therapy. Stan has passed. He was a great friend, but one of the most amazing individuals in regards to knowledge of the brain chemistry and how we can help lift ourselves from some very challenging conditions such as anxiety, depression, and more with amino acid therapy. Dr. Haile Cass, also an individual with extreme experience in working with other individuals with amino acid therapy. For our elite college athletes reading this book or listening to this Audible, make sure that you check with your coaches and your athletic directors and your team physician to make sure any of the supplements recommended here are legal for you to use in your sport of choice as well. If you are currently on any antidepressants or anti-anxiety pharmaceutical drugs, make sure that you check with your physician before you even consider adding any additional supplements for brain or mood health, to your daily pharmaceutical routine. So let's take a look at some of the basic amino acids out there and how they can help us starting today. Number one, DLPA, which stands for D-L-phenylalanine. DLPA is a mood booster. It acts on the neurotransmitter dopamine, which is one of the most important neurotransmitters when we look at depression and addiction. Number two, velvet bean extract, many times sold underneath the name mucuna, Mucuna, also is a dopamine enhancer, a mood enhancer that many athletes have found to be incredibly helpful in keeping their moods up during the stress of a season. Number three, tyrosine. Tyrosine also acts on the dopamine receptors, but in a slightly different way. Like DLPA, it is a mood booster, but it is also extremely effective in helping people stay focused, energized without caffeine. Number four, tryptophan has been shown to be very powerful in regards to helping with serotonin production. When serotonin levels are normal, we will see an increase in our mood, an increase in our attention span and memory, and we may also find a reduction in frustration, anger, or aggression. Remember, because 60 to 70% of serotonin is found in the gut or the intestines, this is why it's so important when taking any type of over-the-counter supplement for mood enhancement that our diet is extremely clean, free of junk food, sugar, fast food, etc. Number five, reducing anxiety. There are so many supplements that work extremely well with decreasing anxiety. One of them will be ashwagandha. Another one of mine that's a favorite is liquid organic valerian root. And also, let's not forget about magnesium. There's a product called Calm, C-A-L-M, magnesium that comes in a powder form that you mix with water. And many love the effect that it has on reducing anxiety in a very short period of time. We can also reduce anxiety fairly quickly by doing what's called diaphragmatic breathing, or also referred to as belly breathing. When you start to feel anxiety coming on, put your hand on your stomach and breathe in or inhale so that your stomach moves your hand out away from the body. And then as you exhale, the stomach relaxes and the hand goes back towards the body. Most of us, and especially when we feel anxiety coming on, will start to take very shallow breaths, what we refer to as chest breathing, which does not help one struggling with any form of anxiety. Through deep belly breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, we are actually calming the vagus nerve, VAGUS, one of the largest nerves in the body that goes from the head to the toe. And just by doing 10 to 15 deep belly breaths, we can start to feel calmness coming over us. Number six, supplements for sleep. Because our brain chemistry is so different from one person to another, there's never just one supplement that works for everyone. And like the different ones mentioned above, you may have to do some trial and error to find out which the supplements that we recommend could have the best effect on your mental health, mood, and sleep. For sleep, we go back to once again valerian root, which is a great product for anti-anxiety and also a great product to help us sleep. The essential oil of lavender sprinkled on your pillow also has an incredibly relaxing effect. Just as inhaling 100% pure essential oil of lavender can also start to relax the brain, bringing sleep upon us. CBD, of course, has taken the nation and the world by storm as a potential anti-anxiety and sleep aid. Make sure with your team physician that this is allowed. Even though it is a non-psychoactive ingredient in marijuana, still double check to make sure it's legal within your sport. Melatonin is another long-time favorite for many people, as is the supplement theanine, which is often mixed with melatonin and has been a favorite for many of our clients as well. The combination of theanine and melatonin, which can be found produced by 1,000 different supplemental producers, is something that many of my athletes have loved for the last number of years. And of course, let's not forget about meditation and relaxation audios that can help calm the mind and bring us closer to sleep. There's the app Calm, C-A-L-M, that many of my athletes use right now. There are so many different ways to enhance our mental health, to decrease anxiety and depression, to enhance our dopamine and serotonin levels so we feel more motivated, more grounded, and more excited about being alive. Because in the elite world of athletics, there is so much pressure, so much stress. It is very common for athletes to be looking for safe, effective, and legal supplements to help them in every area of their life. This list could be expanded, obviously, but I just wanted to give you an idea of how we help athletes from every single angle in life. The end result will be a more balanced existence, a more focused existence, and as we talk and walk further down the road of your career, a more confident existence. You are never alone. Simply reach out and we will be there to help you in any and every area of life that you may need guidance, assistance, or more. Now we come to the end of chapter questions. As I mentioned before, if you're able, after I read the question, stop this audible, write your answer, and then come on back. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Chapter 7, the importance of professional athletes preparing for their future after they retire. One of the areas that does not get enough attention for all professional athletes is the quest for deciding what they're going to be doing after their sports career has ended. If you're a rookie in any professional sport league right now, this is the time to start planning. One of the greatest mistakes too many athletes make is they forget that their lifespan in any professional sport can end in a moment with an injury or some other tragic event, and they need to know what they're going to be doing when their playing days are over, starting now. Not that it's too late at the twilight of one's career to start looking forward to life after their sport days are over, but by then it could be more difficult to get the ball rolling versus those who begin now. I'm going to be sharing with you in this very short chapter a list of names of athletes that are already doing so. Some by creating their own private businesses, while others have created foundations that actually will be their legacy long after they're gone. If you're in the first category, a rookie or second or third year player in professional sports, reach out to a mentor on your team or ask your coach for guidance on who they may know that might be able to assist you in making plans now for the days that your career is over. In our work, we have been blessed to speak with so many individuals about this very topic, helping and guiding them along the way as they pursue life after sports. I have also been blessed to work with so many athletes as well as interview an amazing amount of athletes from all sports all over the world. And it's so exciting to me to talk to these individuals that already are planning what they're going to do with their life, how they're going to make a difference in this world when they retire. The following list is a small list, but it's one that I want you to look at very closely because you might find that one of these players is doing exactly what your heart is calling you to do as well. You may even want to Google these different foundations or talk to the athletes directly to see how they get started, what the challenges are, what the benefits are. And you might even want to join one of the foundations already in existence as a way to get your feet wet and see what it's like to do the work that currently is being done by so many phenomenal athletes in this world. Number one, let me go back to a story I mentioned before, but because it's so profound and because so few athletes do it, I've got to say it again. I'm starting with Ernest Graham, former NFL running back with the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. When I interviewed him so many times talking about how he got out of his drug, crime, gun related childhood to become a star running back at the University of Florida and then on to the NFL. Ernest told me right from the start, the minute he was drafted, he already was making his financial plans, his budgets, and within a short period of time, he had planned on opening that insurance agency that would serve communities in this country and give him a chance to continue to help people after his playing days were over. A powerful man who came from such bleak beginnings, like many professional athletes do, and continues to do great work in this world. Number two, Russell Westbrook, a dynamic player on the court, still playing, who actively created his own clothing company as a way to make a mark in his community. Russell is obviously outrageously talented on the basketball court, but he's equally talented with his desire to create new looks, new styles in the world of clothing and design. These two amazing individuals listed above, I am putting in this book just to give you ideas from different angles, different sports, different interests that may spark something in your heart and mind. You can create your own business even while you're still actively playing, knowing that when you do retire, that the next step in your life and legacy will already be in motion. Below, I'm going to list a group of athletes that have actually created foundations in order to make a major mark in their community and the world. The J.J. Watt Foundation, the Albert Pujols Family Foundation, the Roger Federer Foundation, the Dikembe Mutombo Foundation, Athletes for Hope, which is a foundation formed with over 4,000 athletes, the LeBron James Family Foundation, the Michael Phelps Foundation, the Muhammad Ali Foundation. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of more foundations like the ones I listed above, but this is just a starting point. I think as you get the idea, there are so many different ways for you to start preparing now for your future. As I mentioned above, feel free as a professional athlete to reach out to any of these foundations, or to Ernest or to Russell, to brainstorm ideas on how you can create something unique for you to continue doing after your playing days are over. While this is a very short chapter, I feel personally it's an incredibly important one, because we all have something to add to society in a positive way if we were to slow down right now and think about it. If you came from difficult beginnings, like Jimmy Butler from the Miami Heat, you may decide to write a book about how your life started with so many challenges and what you did personally to rise above those challenges. You can inspire millions with your story. There are millions upon millions of fans that would love to hear your life story, even if you used a ghostwriter because you don't feel maybe proficient enough to write a book by yourself, and that is totally okay. I hope as you read the list of all these great athletes who are doing great things in society that it will inspire you to do the same. You are gifted. You are talented. You've proven to the world that you're willing to work incredibly hard, long hours, to master your craft. You are a role model. Millions of people look up to you. When your playing days are over, I want the same thing to continue happening to you. I want millions of people to look up to you because of the business you created or the foundation you created. I want you to feel the love that so many people feel for you as you give back to society in a way that is unique just for you. Let's go. Let's plan. And then let's activate that plan, like so many other athletes have done and are doing today, as a way to say thank you to the millions of people who have supported you over the years. I know you will continue making a massive difference in this world, off of the courts and playing fields, just like you have during your career. Congratulations. You rock. And I hope you know that you do. End of chapter questions. Once again, I will read these questions. If you can, put a pause on this audio, answer, and then continue. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? Number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? Chapter 8. For high caliber college athletes who want to go pro, read this now. I want to just give a few pointers, a few tips to high profile college athletes that want to go pro. Regardless of the statistics that only 1 to 2% of college athletes will ever make it to the professional level, those are simply statistics that are presented for us to overcome in life. As a matter of fact, every challenge we face, whether it's in sports or finances or relationships, is an opportunity to grow. So I want you to look at those low percentage statistics as an opportunity to grow, not as something to push you away or make you feel insecure, but to challenge you. And those statistics should challenge every college athlete that wants to go pro. Take the challenge on, starting now. If you haven't before this moment, now is the opportunity to get serious about what you want to create for your future. The mind is a powerful thing. Never give up. As the great late Jim Valvano said during the last speech he gave before he died due to cancer, never, ever, ever give up. I need your mind to be as locked in as his. I need you to have the mindset of the greatest athletes of all time. And that starts right now. And even if you go undrafted, but you know your skill level is high enough to make it into the pros, never forget this fact. The Miami Heat went to the NBA Finals with 7 undrafted players. 7 undrafted players. And many of them made a huge impact in the NBA playoffs, like Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus. Memorize these names. Google their stories. They were undrafted and they made it to the NBA Finals. If you have that mindset, there's no stopping you. It doesn't matter if your sport is basketball or football or baseball or BMX racing. You can learn from what these athletes have gone through, their hard work, their determination in order to make it to the pros. It might mean that you have to go and play professional ball in another country, Europe, Japan, Australia. If you're serious, you'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. Get serious, even more serious than you've ever been right now. And never forget this crucial line that could make the difference between you becoming a professional athlete or not. Quote, play and practice as you would play in the final playoff game or match, end quote. It is because of this philosophy that I, David Essel, a walk-on at Division I basketball school, Syracuse University, was given an opportunity, a scholarship to play in my final 2 years of college basketball. The coach at that time, as I mentioned earlier in the book, was Roy Danforth, and he told me the reason he was giving me this opportunity was because I did exactly as the quote stated above. I went to every practice as if it was the NCAA men's final championship game. I had no other option. In my mind anyway, I had to play as hard in practice as I did in the games, and it played off every day. It paid off every day. I know the same will happen to you. Many of you who are with me right now may be thinking that you're already doing it, and maybe you are, but double check with your coaches. Make sure you're asking them regularly. You have to get humble, become vulnerable about how you can improve your game, your intensity, how you can be stronger in practice, which will then roll over into game time. And ask them what you need to improve upon, and then do it daily. Take their advice and run with it. Too many college athletes that I've worked with and spoken with have an attitude that because they're the number one player on their team, that will somehow translate them into a professional sports career. That really doesn't mean a lot, to be honest with you, because you can be the number one college athlete on your team, and unless everything else is lined up perfectly, you may not ever get a chance to play professional sports. And there's nothing negative about that comment. It's only the reality of me being honest with you and being in this industry for 43 years. And as surprising as this might seem, make sure that you're in the right position in your chosen sport to give you the best chance to make it into the pros. Here is one of the most incredible stories that I could ever share with you about the above statement and how important it is to make sure that you're slotted correctly in the sport of your choice. Just a few years ago, I had the chance to interview Marquette King, a phenomenal punter who played in the NFL and then just this year with the XFL Professional Football League won the championship as their punter. But wait, the story of how he got into professional football as a punter may surprise you. Marquette King was a wide receiver in college, And during the summer months, he would meet at the field with his quarterback to practice his running routes as well as the quarterback practicing his throws. One day when Marquette showed up at the field for the practice, the quarterback didn't make it. So Marquette was sitting there bored with a football in his hand, and he decided to pass the time. He would just start kicking it. Surprisingly, on the other side of the practice field, behind the bleachers, one of the coaches was walking in between buildings and saw this football flying higher than he had ever seen and wondered who could be kicking it that high. When he finally got to the field, the only person he saw there was Marquette King. So he pulled him aside and asked him, was he the one kicking the ball that high, or was there someone else there also? Marquette said it was him, and the coach looked at him and said, quote, son, you've just found yourself a new position. Marquette was shocked, to say the least. He had always imagined himself as an NFL wide receiver and believed he was good enough to make it. With this one chance encounter, with him accidentally kicking the football, it opened the doorway that he would have never thought of on his own. And the rest, as they say, is history. How about you? If you change positions in your sport, would it give you a greater edge? Do you have the strength to go to one of your coaches and ask them the same thing? Would someone be able to look at your talents, your gifts, and your abilities and tell you that you might be better in a slightly different position than the one you're at now at your college or university? I hope the above information will give you some things to think about, to ponder on, and to have conversations with other players and coaches about as you move forward in your career. Believe in yourself. Surround yourself with individuals that believe in you as well. And let's see how far you can go in the world of sports. Wishing you an exciting career wherever it takes you from this moment forward. Now we go on to the end of chapter questions. As I've mentioned before, I'm going to read a question. If you want to pause the audio, give your answer, and then come back. Number one, what was covered in detail in this chapter? Number two, of all the topics covered, which one was of most interest to you and why? And number three, what are the specific action steps that you will take in order to strengthen your mental health, determination, willpower, and more? A message for each and every reader or listener to this Audible. I'm so glad that you've taken the time to read this book or to listen to my Audible on sports psychology and sports excellence. And I hope somewhere along the line you've picked up a point or two, a tip or two, that will help you proceed further in your career than you could have ever imagined possible. I know it takes great mental strength, great personal belief to play in any professional sport, in any professional league. If that is your dream, never stop, never give up. Along the way, if you need assistance, I am one of the many in this field who can dramatically help you. I'll help you with any challenge you're facing in your sport, on or off the court. As I've mentioned many times, all of my work with you will be strictly confidential. No sharing, ever. I have found in my life when I reach certain challenges or can't quite get to that next level of whatever goal I'm shooting for, reaching out and asking for help has always been my number one goal to make. Why recreate the wheel when there are others out there who have been there, helped thousands of other athletes, and are willing to help you as well? Together, we can do so much more than we can as individuals. So enjoy the ride. Take a big breath. Use the information here to continue to grow to the next level. Now is the time to create your future. Reach out. I am here ready to serve, ready to help, ready to inspire, and ready to help hold you accountable to the changes that you'd like to make and the goals that you'd like to accomplish. Wishing you greatness, happiness, amazing health, and perfect success. As the author of this book, many of you may know that I've written 14 other books and I've been in this business, as I've mentioned, in this Audible for 43 years now. I'm going to read the bio because this is what everyone will be reading in the printed version of the book. So in the Audible just like to give you a little bit more information about who this guy David Essel is and why you should listen to him. Let me start out with the bio about David Essel, MSOM. First, a quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer. David Essel's destiny is to help you become more alive in every area of your life. David Essel, MSOM, is a #1 best-selling author of 14 books, a counselor, executive coach, international speaker, radio, TV, podcast host, sport psychology coach, and all-faith minister whose mission is to positively affect 2 million people or more every day in every area of life, regardless of their current circumstances. Celebrity Jenny McCarthy says, quote, David Essel is the new leader of the positive thinking movement. David's newest book, Mental Mastery and Maximum Performance for Professional Athletes, is based on his experience and stories from his 43 years as a sports psychology coach, detailing what it takes to handle the pressures, stress, and mental health issues that these professionals face on a daily basis. David's 13th book, endorsed by treatment center owners, doctors, and clients, is completely changing the world of recovery. David Essel's Permanent Alcohol and Life Recovery is so advanced and unique that people who never thought they could be free of any addiction are now free. Another recent book, Helping Americans Heal, The Ultimate Guide to Healing During These Challenging Times, just became another one of his #1 best-selling books. The Ultimate Gratitude Journal, 52 Weeks to a New You, is a unique gratitude program released a year ago. His previous book, Love and Relationship Secrets That Everyone Needs to Know, has been labeled as, quote, the new Bible on love and communication. His 10th book went #1 bestseller in 3 months, a mystical romance novel set in the Hawaiian Islands called Angel on a Surfboard, which offers the 6 keys to deep love. Another #1 bestseller, Focus, Slay Your Goals, The Proven Guide to Huge Success, A Powerful Attitude, and Profound Love, was recently selected by the influential blog bookauthority.org as one of the top 100 goal-setting books of all time. David's work of 43 years is also highly endorsed by the late Wayne Dyer, Chicken Soup for the Soul co-author Mark Victor Hansen, as well as many other celebrities and radio, television networks, and athletes from around the world. He has been an adjunct professor at both Florida Gulf Coast University and Edison State College, now called Florida Southwestern College, for several years, teaching his, quote, public speaking course, end quote, as well as his, quote, mental health and master life coach certification, end quote. He is verified through Psychology Today, Theravive, and Therapy Tribe as one of the top counselors and executive life coaches in the USA, and is verified through Marriage.com as one of the top relationship counselors and experts in the world. David accepts new clients every week into his one-on-one programs from around the world. Simply visit www.davidessel.com. Now it's time for me to go, but I'm always here for you. Wishing you love and light, happiness and joy. I'm David Essel. Have a beautiful day.